Hey,
It's all my fault.
Bob did it. Bob did it.
I did it. And I was surprised how many people actually nailed it right on the head. Bob overslept. Yep. The infamous old man nap took over.
Yeah, things happen.
Hugging the pillow. But you know what? Today is extra special. So you guys will be happy that you waited, because we got a real famous YouTuber in the house. So, Lee, what do you say? What do you think about who we got on here tonight?
I don't know. I mean, I wonder if he could find a queen in a hive pretty easy.
I bet he could.
I think he can.
I bet he could. I think it's the the blessings he puts down on the swarm traps and on the cutouts. I bet you that makes a huge difference. So I'm sure you guys already know just from those few tips who we got. So we're not going to make you wait, but it's going to cost you a thumbs up and a share, because I watched his streams, and you don't get on his stream unless you throw a thumbs up out there.
Yeah.
So
now, Steve, you were wrong on that one.
So
a couple of them was getting it right now, though.
Do what?
I said a couple of them in the comments getting it right. Steve was wrong, though. Steve Brigger.
Steve was wrong. Yeah. Try again. All right.
It's close, though.
He was willing to wait for my nap and everything. He was like, Bob, you look so cute laying there sleeping. We're just going to let you go. So, all right, guys, let's bring him in. Mr. Ed.
Ed, how you doing today?
Hello there, Mr. Ed here.
Hey, I'm sorry about making you wait for my beauty sleep. If we would have waited much,
How about that? It didn't help none
with it. So you'd have been waiting a long time for beauty sleep, though.
I was going to try it without the glasses, but it ain't working.
Oh, yeah. I can't see anything without the glasses.
Well, just looking at the video, it makes a glare on the video to me. Everybody looking, I can see the glare in the reflection here.
No, I just noticed that you're not in the room with the
blanket in the back.
With the quilt and all. You've changed up scenery on me.
Well, I'm at the house.
You're at the house now.
Yeah, because I'll be in bed in about an hour.
Oh, not if you get talking to us, you won't. You'll be stuck.
Get stuck
in the head with the frying pan. Get off of there. Let's go.
I think last time we really had him on, he got stuck in there for a while, and then Yappy showed up, and Dirt Rooster showed up, and Who was it? JP ended up on the phone. We had a conference call.
That was one time. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we won a while that night.
We might get some people to actually watch tonight because Jeff's here. Only if he shares it on his channel. If he shares it on his channel, then
Well, we ain't bad. I mean, we're starting at 35 right now. That ain't bad.
Yeah, that ain't bad.
Yeah, we usually get anywhere. When I'm on time, they're penalizing me right now, but usually it's I don't know, 50 to 150 sometimes in that area. But so I take it you guys got the all your honey extracted, everything.
I gotta say, there's an issue with the microphones because there's a delay of back feed.
Oh, you got to watch it on StreamYard. Are you watching on StreamYard and not on YouTube?
Let's see.
Yeah, if you got YouTube open, you'll have to either mute it or close it and just watch through StreamYard.
So you're probably hearing the StreamYard first.
Yeah, I'm in StreamYard.
Do you still have a tab open for YouTube at the top of your screen?
How about that?
I don't know. You tell us.
That's it. That's it. It's gone.
We could never hear it. Usually we could hear one, but we didn't hear it. Awesome. So
it's good now.
So what's going on? You got what's with your bees and everything right now?
Well, the harvest, the honey harvest, which was nothing because our tallow never showed up. Well, it got froze out. So and Lee, I'm sure you all experienced that as well.
Yeah, it was kind of poor for us this year. I still ain't pulled all of mine yet.
We pulled ours probably about 2 weeks ago, and then we harvested it on July 1st. I think is when we this Saturday, and it was just usually we have 12 people in there doing it, and this time it was just Charlie, Ralph, Julio, and myself. That was all that I mean, we had 20 supers. That's all we had.
About to say, wasn't enough to need all that help.
No, but I still ran it through the machines because it still was what 20 times 10. It's still 200 frames.
Yeah,
that's
so
we
ran it through the machines.
Yeah, our season, I've made just about what I made last year, but I've had like 4 times the colonies. So it's
off everywhere.
I think I'm finally going to get the rest of mine pulled this Sunday. We're actually going to have another day off, and my back's pretty much on the heel. So I think Sunday I may be able to handle it all.
Yeah, well, the temperature should only be about 98 on Sunday, huh? Next week.
Let's see what we had right now. 90 degrees, feels like 107.
Yeah, it's raining outside right here. I mean, it's raining good.
How you like that up there, Bob?
Oh my God.
Look at that.
You're so extra.
Yeah.
Gotta have the toys.
I like your toys, Lee. That's nice.
Next, he's gonna have like the little state on the bottom in the thunderstorm warning where the. Oh my goodness! I like it though. That is awesome.
We're headed up to Quincy, Illinois on Thursday morning to the Mississippi Valley Beekeepers Association, and the speakers that I know of will be Corey Stevens, Cayman Reynolds, Natalie Summers, Dirt Rooster, myself. But there's a bunch of other ones. There's probably about 7 more other ones up there as well. So it ought to be a really, really fun time up there.
They didn't ask Lee and I for some reason. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. You do.
I'm gonna ask when I get up there. Say, why didn't you ask Bob and Lee? I mean, what's up with that?
Tell them we can live.
Probably give you a wise answer on that.
Tell them we can at least do a live stream for
them. I know y'all do a great job, but that's awesome that y'all do that.
We try to keep it light and comical sometimes, and
Sometimes.
try to sometimes learn something in the middle somewhere, and just have a good time.
That's what it's all about. It's all about sharing and having a fun time doing it. It really is.
As far as these lives, I know you've been talking. I mean, we need to get together and do a live. So I figured one day, once I get everything set up here the way I want it, I might try to get you and old Mike Berry to take a little ride over here.
Oh, we'll definitely come up there. Yeah, that'd be awesome. That really would be, Lee. Do we all get to wear those cool earphones?
I got a couple pair, and I got a couple extra mics too. So we'll all be set up.
We'll be just like Joe Grogan, huh?
Heck, we might even let Bob over here in with us.
Yeah, I doubt it. See, you guys, I would be the outsider. It's all you Louisiana boys, and they'd be like, "I'm from South Carolina. Bring me in."
Hey, Bob. Both me and Randy, we're going to be going up to. Well, it'll be next year, but to New Barnes, North Carolina. We're going to be talking up there.
New Bern,
yeah.
That's
we'll
right off of 95. So
yeah,
you'd have to. Well, you wouldn't have to, but if you came straight up 20, you'd be coming right through. I'd be the guy standing out saying,
"Look, I'll be doing this in an airplane."
Are you gonna fly?
Oh yeah, I ain't driving that far.
Are you going to make it to the conference they're doing in Slidell? I believe September.
Well, if we have one, I'll be there. That's for sure. I talked to Jeff. That's Jeff Brown. I talked to him last week, and he assured me that he's going to be sending out emails this week, and I still hadn't gotten mine, so I don't know what's going on.
All right.
All those. That's a big deal putting on one of those, any kind of conference show. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do all that. And then if you got to line up speakers and man, gee whiz,
I think Cayman makes it look a little bit easy from the outside looking in, right? So when you go to the show, you're like, wow, this is great. It couldn't have been that hard. And then you see Cayman at the conference, and he looks like someone kicked his dog the whole time.
Yeah, you never saw him standing still. Never.
90-0.
I'm telling you.
Now, I think this year he said he's going to let go of the reins a little bit and have some other people taking care of some of the stuff for him.
Yeah.
So relieve a little pressure off of him. Now the other thing we got though, hold on, I can't see it right there. My bad.
I saw it.
Let's see what I got here. Now this is until basically the evening for the meet and greet that evening. So we got about 176 days left.
You got a countdown timer set up for Hive Life already?
Oh yeah.
That guy is on top.
He's already got his hotel room booked. Yeah.
I had it booked since February.
I can't say anything because if it wasn't for Lee buying that early, I wouldn't have got to go last year. So
wow, yeah, good for you.
As soon as he puts the tickets on sale, though, we're buying them this year. So
yeah, that's what I'm waiting on. I'm just worried because I mean I know there was rumors and everything back in January that it may be changing locations this year. And I mean, it's speculation. Some people say, well, that's why he ain't put the tickets out yet because they're still trying to figure out. But then I'm hearing, no, it is going to be at the same place. But the following year it may move. So I'm hoping we hurry and find out because I'm ready to get some tickets.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about that even here around us as well.
Nah, Brad, right now, I hadn't seen them for sale yet. I've been checking the website every day.
Yeah, I look at myself. I'm still trying to find out. But now I'm kind of hoping that since he'll be up there in Quincy this weekend, I'll kind of get a little better idea of what's going on. But for right now, I'm just like you guys.
The inside scoop.
I was about to say, if you find out anything, you got my number. Give me a call.
Yeah, I will.
Well, the funny thing is, even about this stream, like, I was working on my day job and I came in.
Look at Joey Riles checking in.
I checked my phone and I was like, I missed a call and I looked at it and it said Mr. Ed. Actually, it says Jeff on there, but it's Jeff Porchoff, right? So I was like, Jeff called me. I wonder what that's about. So I listened to your voicemail. I'm like, cool. And then I called you right back, and I didn't get an answer. I was like,
that's because I took a nap.
Yeah, so you took your nap earlier.
Look, I was cutting grass all day today. I'm telling you, I ain't used to all that hard work and all that heat.
That heat's killing us down here. I know. I was a little aggravated at work today. I had to take a walk because they come around. The mechanic, the owner, basically the rental company, they come in and do the maintenance on my crane. So I had to kill the engine, which kills my AC, and that took them about an hour and a half.
Jeez. Did you have the fan at least?
No, I wasn't even in the cab because they had to get in, change AC filters and everything.
You know, when I was a mailman, one of the biggest complaints was that those vehicles, those LLVs, those big like van things, they were, whatever the temperature was outside, it was 10, 12 degrees hotter in that van. And they had, in Florida, they had this system for the vans in Florida. There was a system that consisted simply of a tube that ran along the interior of the van with a fan on the outside and the back that would push air, cool air in there. And it was, I don't know, you know, the number is somewhere $100 per van, and to get something like this. And they wouldn't even do that for us. And man, it was just like,
I bet you most of the guys would have paid the $100.
Yeah.
Just deduct it from my check and put it in one.
I've done that at work. I went and bought the tent myself and put on the windows in the crane. I might be in there another week or two, and then it goes off rent, and I let it go. Hey, if it helps me just a few bucks to stay cool, I don't mind doing it.
Then again, Jeff, we came from the era with the little triangle windows where you turn them to let air.
I remember them. Had an old '84 Ford,
and every door had its own cigarette lighter or cigarette ashtray in it.
Hey, I did talk to Rooster this evening, so, and I did tell him that I was going to come on y'all's channel tonight, so he might be popping in. I know his dad is not doing well. He went back into the hospital, and so Randy brought him to the doctor or to the hospital once this week, and then tonight is like the second or third time he went to the hospital. So he's been in and out, and they still haven't figured out what's going on. So I don't know. Randy may show up this evening.
Yeah.
If anybody else in here has their little prayer list by the side,
Yeah,
add anybody too. Add Mr. Pat to that.
Yeah.
Tim and Hannah might. Yeah, there's Tim and Hannah.
Yeah, Tim and Hannah's in here. We got quite a few in here. We got 51 right now.
51. You know, the one is.
How many thumbs up you got there, Bob?
Probably 19. I don't know. Let me see.
33 right now.
I'll give you my thumbs up already.
I just shared us out on Facebook, so we might get a few more, maybe.
Well, I don't know. It depends on how. Since you were late, somebody else might be holding another finger up, though.
Oh, it's possible. It is possible.
Thank you, Darren, Tim, and Hannah. Thank y'all.
So, speaking of hospital, James, as far as I know, still in the hospital from when I talked to him. So keep him in your prayers too, with his stomach issues he's having.
Pennsylvania beekeeper Darren.
Yeah, we got him from all over.
Yeah,
all over. Not as all over as you. I mean, Kyle's from New Zealand.
I don't know why not. I don't know why not. I mean, well, you know, with Lee and the helm there, you know, I don't understand why y'all's channel just ain't like boom, 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 boom.
Well, you know, see what you need to do. If you want us to blow up, you need to just hit the share button on the bottom of the YouTube right now, and that'll share over to your channel's community.
Will it?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the people that
How does that work?
On over on Facebook.
I don't do Facebook.
Not Facebook. On
YouTube.
YouTube on the bottom where it says share.
Yeah.
Right underneath the video, it says share, and you'll share that to your community.
And then it'll say create a post. and then you just put on there, we're live over here, and click it, and it'll make a post in your community. And
I don't know how to do all that. See, Lee, you're gonna have to show me how to do that.
We'll get together on that.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
Philip. I think he had what, diverticulitis, and I think he was having surgery.
Well, he said he might have to. I know he hadn't been feeling well, so as far as I know, he's still at the hospital. But I tried to call him today, and he was asleep like I was, and everybody else was today. And then he messaged me back, and by that time I was busy working, and just didn't get back with him at that point. So did Ed, I don't know why it says Mr. Ed. I know your name is Jeff. So
yeah,
Jeff.
Nobody knows me by my name, Jeff. Everybody calls me Mr. Ed. So it's like that's my name. I like when we went to Conroe, Texas, and talked to the beekeepers. What is it? The Texas Beekeepers Association, and they listed me as Jeff Harchoff, and I'm thinking, well,
Nobody's gonna know who I am.
Nobody's gonna know that.
No one knows that.
That's funny.
It's like you need to say Mr. Ed.
So you line through it and write Mr. Ed underneath it?
Actually, on my halyard, I told them put Mr. Ed on it. Don't put my name on it, and they did.
When I watch your videos and when.
Why would you do that, Bob? Don't you have a life?
Not much.
No,
When we do it on Saturday night, we call it the No Life Beekeeper Chat, right? So there's something I think that's important to mention. So you do a lot of, blessing the swarms, blessing the traps and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I think it speaks to sometimes slowing down in your life and just paying attention to what's going on around you too. We always get focused on bad things and very rarely do we get fixated on good things, right? It's always the bad stuff. But I was at work today and just paying attention to the blessings, right? So this is in a neighborhood, and can you see it?
Oh yeah.
And just paying attention to the things around you that, well, I mean, this isn't that great, but it was a
Black widow.
A black widow, yeah. But
you didn't try to pet it?
No, I did. I petted it with some pesticide. But it's just paying attention to things around you that are kind of out of your control. You know what I mean?
I always say that when I work bees, and I don't work bees very often, but like in cutouts particularly, that I lose myself in the wonder of the bees, so that it's not me doing something. It's just me participating in their way of being. And it's a beekeeping for me is it's more of a spiritual aspect than it is a physical aspect. Yeah, there's physical to it, obviously, but the connection, which is one thing I love talking about, the connection of how can we continue being a beekeeper year after year, season after season, when there's so much discouraging things that can happen, and if we don't relate it to something higher than ourselves, then we're going to fall away from it. And so for me, I've been keeping bees since 1978. So it's but now, I mean, it's been this over the years, just like everybody else. But since I've been at the Abbey, that's in 2009. I'll always be a beekeeper now. Now, I mean, I actually know a little tiny bit of stuff, and it's enough to keep me going.
Well, when you say that too, put that in perspective that no matter how much you think you know, every year you learn so much more that it makes you seem like you just barely, you know what I mean? You're just, just
And,
scraping a little bit.
You know, that's the thing too, Bob. I mean, my heart goes out to new beekeepers because they can be so intimidated, overwhelmed by the vastness of information that's out there that, hey, Rhonda, the information that's out there, it's so intimidating. It's like, and you see these new people that come to bee club meetings, and I know for myself when I first was doing this, you just feel like, man, I'm not even going to say nothing. You sit in the far back, and you know it's.
Well, you don't want to be that guy, right? You don't be like,
yeah. But the thing is that it's the responsibility of the club to make those people welcome. You know, and if you can find a club that does that, man, you're going to have a club that you're going to need a bigger building. That's all there is to it.
Well, you know, there's several beginning beekeeper groups on Facebook and stuff like that, and I do catch myself sometimes like, does anybody know what this is? And they're popping on up, and I'm like, have you not watched a single YouTube video ever? I mean, that's what I feel like in my mind, but I look at it and they're like, oh, my bees are doing good. And you look in there and literally you see all brand new tops of the frames. And I'm like, when was this picture taken? Hopefully, tell me this was taken like 3-4 months ago, right? This is when you first put them in the box. But, you know, but you're right. When we start, we don't know what it should look like. So we don't know what good is, what bad is. Sure. Maybe we think it's good, but you know, we just don't know. So
that's why it's really good for new beekeepers to have mentors. You know, where they can, and not just somebody that they can call up, but somebody that can go over there and look at their bees. Right. Because that's, for me, I don't read hardly anything. And I don't have a lot of time to watch YouTube. So my learning comes from doing. And I do things. I've been doing it now for so long, I don't even second guess what I do. I just do it. If it's wrong, and this is what new beekeepers don't understand, if it's wrong, we can come back, or the bees can adjust and fix it. You know, it's not like this has to be the way it is. And there's always, you know, more than one way of doing something, you know, and each beekeeper has to come into their own sense of beekeeping, how they're going to keep their bees. You don't have to keep bees the way everybody's keeping bees. You keep bees the way you keep bees, because they're your bees, and you have the right to decide how they're kept. You know, whether you're going to treat, whether you're not going to treat, whatever you decide. You know, whether you're going to feed, not feed, whatever. You know, they're your bees.
I think the biggest lesson I had to teach myself was leave them alone.
Mm-hmm. That was me. Well, you look at last year whenever I got to work, and I didn't go on my bees for 3 months straight. And you're like, do you even still have bees? I went out there and they were packed, but I wasn't out there messing with them every day.
Right. I mean,
now, I was going to bring something up a minute ago too, though, and I don't want to make Mr. Ed feel too bad, but he was talking about when he started keeping bees, 1978. That was the year I was born.
Hey, I was at least like in 4th grade, 3rd, 4th grade.
Well, you know what happened? I lived in New Orleans, and at that time in 1978, I moved to the North Shore where I am now. And when I did, I met a guy while I was in New Orleans, and he was a hippie guy, and he had bees. And I said, man, that is the coolest thing. And I couldn't.
His name Good Time Charlie?
No. His name was Kiefer, and and he worked. I was working in a shipyard building fiberglass boats at that time. That's how I met him. And when I saw him, I said, "Man, when I move across the lake, I'm gonna get me some bees." And my dad, who was a carpenter, who then taught me that trade, actually a cabinet maker, he built my first bee boxes for me. And when I moved over, I got it was packaged bees that I bought, and I got 2 hives at that time. And it wasn't much longer after that. I did my very, very first cutout. It was a disaster, but I did one.
I think everybody first cutout is pretty bad.
Perspective. Mr. Ed started keeping bees before Star Wars came out. He could have been in the bee yard, closed it up, and said, "Let's go to the movies and stand in line to watch Star Wars."
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that man. You told on yourself there, Jeff.
Dude, look,
the
thing is, I'm sitting retired. I've been retired now since 2009. So that's an awesome life I live.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw what Chris put up there. Yeah, so that was when people ask me, well, what's the biggest thing that you learned when you were starting? I said, to leave the bees alone. Because I think, at least for me, when I got bees, I had already done my YouTube research, all that research for a while before I decided I was going to pull the trigger and get some bees, right? So when you get them, you know everything. This is how I'm going to put them in. This is how I'm going to set them out. This is where I'm going to put them. And then you put them in the box and like, wait a minute, I can't look in there. So now every couple of days you're look, they're making wax, and I think you just risk damaging them.
That was me. I had 1 hive when I started out, and I was wanting to go in it every day, every other day, something like that. I'm like, I got to get a couple more. That way I can at least go in 1 each day and alternate them and not disturb them too much.
It's a shame that not for me, not for my style of beekeeping. Generally speaking, I'll go in my hives twice a year when I do splits and when I harvest honey. That's it.
Now, how do you keep them from hitting the trees? Or you don't? You don't worry about it?
What do you mean? What do you mean hitting the trees?
Swarming.
Oh, I do splits. So I do splits in the spring, and then I build up the hives for the honey. And then once the honey harvest is done, I'm finished with them. I don't go back until January. I'm finished. I leave them alone. That's why my bees are kind of like have bad temperaments.
Oh, I got
used to being messed with.
So so obviously we all have dead outs and stuff like that happened every year. So as far as your splits, do you guys just split to increase the colonies, or are you just splitting to
split to prevent swarms?
Okay,
I split because if I didn't split, my honey would fly away. So I split. I've
heard you before say where you're only interested in making X number of pounds of honey, right? Like, didn't you have a goal that so you keep your
I want
that amount?
350, 400 gallons is all I need, and that's all I want. I don't want to work any more than that.
Now, guys, realize he said 350 to 400 gallons, not 350 to 400 pounds.
Right.
So he's talking upwards of
5,000 pounds, 4,000, anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds. That's a good range.
See, now you just need to talk the Abbey into selling nukes in the spring.
That would mean that I would have to work, Bob. I don't want to do
that'd be a lot of work for it.
But here's the thing: when you're as famous as you do a live this Saturday. We're going to be making nukes for resale, and you know how they do the strawberries, and you go out and pick your own. You could do the same thing. You'd have beekeepers coming down to the Abbey and making their own splits to carry home. For 200
Remember a little few minutes ago, Bob, I told you that in 2009 I retired. Do you remember that? I'm not chasing anything.
I'm just saying you could make money for the Abbey and
Sure.
do.
I was about to say, you think about the time you do your splits, you could have everybody come in that's wanting nukes for the year. You could make your splits, and anything extra you could sell off, and they done all
Well,
the work for you.
I do, because I don't want to go more than 150, so I sell off, and I it's a shame what I do, but I help the people, because what I do is I sell bees on frames. So I usually sell 10 frames of bees. They bring me their equipment, and I just transfer the frames of bees into it. So I sell them a 10 frame box of bees for $175.
With the mated queen, or they have to make their
No,
own queen?
yeah, no, with everything, all the stores, everything.
For how much?
Yeah, but it's not. See, that's part of the Benedictine thing. It isn't. It's their philosophy of. It isn't always about the dollar. It's not.
Right.
It's not about the dollar. It's about community. It's what the bees do, community, and you help the community. And so I only do that for club members. I'm not selling bees.
So what you're saying is Bob didn't drive to Louisiana and get any cheap bees. That's what you're saying.
Well, it's like
if Bob comes to Louisiana, he's going to be on the ladder doing a cutout.
It's a great deal for these people because they're not getting a nuke, a 5-frame nuke. They're getting 10 frames. In theory, they could grow those bees and get honey off of them that same year.
Yeah.
Basically,
you think about it, it's half price because around here, I think they were going for right around 200 for a 5-frame nuke this year.
That's what they are selling here too.
Yeah. But it isn't. I don't have a lot of them to sell. I probably sold 25, no more than 30. But that's all I've got because not all my hives are splittable. So if we have 150 hives, I think this year I did 80 or 85 splits, and this year it worked out that most of the splits were done with a double screen dividing board, and I was finished with all my splits on March the 3rd. I was finished. All my hives had queens in them, and I had a 100% success using a double screen board. That all my hives were queen right. Every one of them. You did
all your splits with the double. You just basically lifted up a box, threw a double screen divider in it, put it back down, and one of them makes a queen, one of them doesn't.
Yep, that's it. It's the simplest method to do a split because now there's guidelines that I use. Whether I'm going to do a split, I need to have at least minimally. I need 6-7 frames of bees in each box before I'm going to do that. And ideally, we want to have brood in both boxes young enough where they can generate a queen. But most of the time, our queen's going to be in that upper box. And even if she's not in the upper box and the emergency cell is formed in the top box, I rotate them because I always move my old queen off. Steal the field bees from her because I don't want her swarming off again.
Right.
It's just
that gives you the freshest, most virile young queen, right, in your operation.
Well, actually, for our operation, I would say a good 80% of our honey comes off of our old queens. So that's why I say if your hive swarms off, there goes my honey. And so I move my old queen off. And when I move my old queen off, I drop another box on her right away. And it's already drawn comb for her to get up there and start laying. And I mark my boxes, old queens, new queens. and I can tell those are the ones I need to go check on, make sure that I'm keeping ahead of the old queen and the new queen, making sure she's developing at the same time. Now, I did get some honey even this year off of new queens, but it was all off old queens again.
Mainly, they're just you've been blessed to have the resources as far as comb after years of recycling.
Right.
You know, all of us schmucks that are putting new frames in, and now they got to build up. You know.
Well, even if you put new frames in, which I'm going to have to do this year, wax them up. You know, give them something to jump on, and they can draw that stuff. If you put a wax frame in there, man, they can draw that stuff out incredibly fast, as long as they've got the number of bees in there.
As long as they got the tallow.
Or, you know,
well, normally down here. Go ahead.
Say it again.
I was about to say, normally down here, whenever I would get frames drawn out, it would be the early privet that they were starting the frames with, and at least get them started real good, and then the tallow, they would just fill them out.
Right. The tallow is where your honey comes from. Privet is for the buildup, for the brood, for the buildup. Mm-hmm. But since I drawn comb in there already, very often I get honey nectar in my second box. And I don't run excluders. I just throw another super on there for the honey box. And generally, my queen's not going to cross over that honey barrier. And so, like this year, we had 20 boxes. So that's 200 frames. And out of the 200 frames, I had 17 of them that the queen had laid in. 17 out of 200. It's so insignificant, the amount. That's why I don't feel excluders are worth the trouble of putting them in my boxes. For me,
you didn't have the problem that I had, because now you run all deeps, right? You're not running deeps and mediums.
Right.
Okay. See, I'm I hate to say made the mistake, but I did what I learned. So, you know, from the glorious YouTube, and I did mediums for honey supers, but when I started putting the mediums on, that queen said right up there. Well, now I've got mediums that she's laid brood in. So now I have to shake her back down, put an excluder on so that brood can hatch out and they'll backfill it.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise she just keeps moving up the chimney. And so that was a big source of discontent. Last year, I left a medium on top for the winter. Well, they moved up, and then she lays the whole thing up, and you can't get her back out of it.
Well, that's a mistake.
Yeah. See, like this year,
drop them down to 2 boxes after the harvest. Drop them down. It's the easiest thing.
This year down here, I mean, our privet, it bloomed out, but we didn't have enough rain, and we didn't get any nectar off of it.
Nothing off the
Now, last year I did, and you could see the lighter honey on this side was my privet, and then it went over to the tallow, got a little darker.
Yeah, you had some great honey, Lee. I definitely liked your honey.
The privet to me is a little extra sweet. Renee likes that. I prefer either the tallow or the goldenrod. I like the stronger taste.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I don't really like the sweet stuff.
I'll do it, but I prefer.
Do you get much of a fall flow there, Ed?
Nah, our goldenrod. I actually think we're going to actually have goldenrod this year because, Lee, you see how much of it is right now?
We got some 3, 4, 5 foot tall already. And when I left work the other day, we got one right on the corner of the parking lot, and I've already started seeing some little yellow flowers pop out on it. And that's way early.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, where they say the Lord does things for reasons, right? So maybe he gave us a bad spring flow, so we'll get a better summer flow.
Who knows? Who knows?
You don't know, right?
It's farming. That's the way I look at it.
Well, my mentor keeps telling me, we haven't had a good flow in about 5-6 years. I said, well, I've only been beekeeping 5 years, so I haven't had a good flow yet. Not yet. What do I have to do? You know, and you listen to Bob Benny, he says, just stay persistent. That bad season might be the first season you start. So it's been my first 5. I haven't gotten that good, flow yet.
I think that's what we talked about at Hive Life with Bob was talking about. I mean, being persistent, you're going to have a good year and a bad year.
Mm-hmm.
And that first year you started, it might be your first and second year. It might be a bad honey flow. And a lot of people give up then. But if you hang with it, you're going to end up getting a good one. Now, it depends on how much money you're putting out a pocket up front. If you're trying to do an investment or whatever, how long it's going to take you to make that back on honey. But you may start with a good year. You may start with a bad year.
Well, I try to let my bees provide for themselves. So I put out the initial money to get started. And then as the honey comes in, I sell the honey and then I buy more beekeeping stuff. So I'm always working from what they've provided and try my hardest not to dig into my own pocket, because I don't want that skillet, that frying pan up against the head.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, I bet you've been hit so many times that skillet's got a little.
Oh yeah. Well, I bought I call it a semi-automatic uncapper this year. So I've got the Lyson uncapper that's got, it's basically like what they call a Silver Queen, where like Cayman's got that, you put it in there and they go down. But once you put the frames in, I actually have to crank the frames through the blades.
Correct. Right.
But for what I've got, that's the perfect size. I don't need that $12,000 unit, right? I got a $3,500 unit, and it works. Yeah, that one right there. So it's
got the uncapping tank underneath it.
Yep. Yes, sir. Comes just like $3,500. So
what happens to all the cappings? They all go into the tank.
The cappings fall off and they go into the tank onto a steel grate.
Yeah.
Tray, and then they drip down into the bottom, and I can go out there.
That tray is deep enough to hang your frame and still have room for the cappings.
The tray is probably that deep.
Yeah.
Right. It holds 30 frames on the tank after I'm done uncapping them. So I can fill up my 30 frame extractor, and while it's spinning, I can crank out another 30 frames.
Yeah.
And keep it going. But I've got another uncapping tank like that, so I can run 70 frames and spin 30 and keep it going like that. But yeah, so the bottom, the tray is about, I don't know, maybe 2-3 inches deep. Lee, you got it's the same.
I'd say about 3 inches.
About 3 inches, and there's 2 of them that run the length of the whole uncapping tank. So if one gets full, you could just move it to the back and slide the other brand new one under it. Yeah. And then I let it sit there. And then
what happens with your cappings?
So after they've dripped down in there, I'm not as fancy schmancy as you guys up there in Louisiana, but I'll take a paint strainer bag, and once they've dripped for a little while, I'll scoop them in there, and I just put them in a press and press them out.
And then what do you do then?
Solar wax melter and melt them into gold bars.
Good.
Now he did get the cider press this year too, that he can throw the bag of captains in and press it down and get that extra honey out.
How big of a press is it?
It's 14, right under 14 gallons. It's 13.
Oh wow, that's a big one.
Hey, your buddies at Vivor, if you send them an email and say you'd like to test one out, they will mail you one for free.
Nah, they don't. Yeah, I know. They already sent me one for that press.
The cider press? They sent you the cider press?
Yeah. They asked me to do one, but I don't want to do that.
I needed one. I was looking at one, and they were like 800. They were pretty expensive if you bought the one from the wax press for the beekeeping supply store. So I sent them an email and said, hey, you've let me do an extractor. You've let me do a hive kit. I'd really like to try this because it works great for wax cappings. And I just take that paint strainer bag and I put the whole thing in there like a cheese, like you would a cheese press. Then I just spin it down and press the honey out of it.
Yeah. Is that a 14 gallon or a 4 gallon?
I got the 13.6.
That's a big one.
14 liter, yeah.
Okay, 14 liter.
Yeah, but I think it says it's 13 gallons or something like that.
I see a 3.7 gallon, 14 liter.
I think for someone my size, it works great. Not evidently, it's not a capping spinner that you're going to pay $5,000 for. You got to keep that in perspective. It's a $200 fruit press, right? So
yeah, the ones I really like are those wax presses that are underneath the uncapping tank.
Yeah,
and everything. Oh man,
that's what I was looking at from Better Bee.
That's an awesome deal right there. And it comes out that little spiral.
Well, if Dirt Rooster's coming, he's going to say, "Those are Arby's curly fries."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely. I always had a fascination for the. I know License makes one of those types of pumps.
Yeah, that's a License right
that's
there.
That's a License full auto with the extruder on the bottom.
Well,
but you know what? Everything. Gosh, I love beekeeping, but you can't tell me some of that stuff is expensive to make is what they're selling it for. Impossible.
Well, stainless steel is expensive.
Yeah. If you look at the License extruder by itself, that's $8,000 just for the extruder.
Yep. Yeah, they're pricey. Now, I know because I was thinking about how to do all that, and you can find some of those things used ones and for they're hen's teeth for sure, but they're out there. People do sell them.
The swarm rustling goat tonight.
Hey, Bob, did you? I don't know if you saw that video that I posted last week about the swarm that I vacuumed up, and then there were 2 queens in it, and they all took off in different directions. But when the other one broke off and decided to come down closer to the ground, I grabbed a box, but I did use the swarm rustler in it.
Did you catch them?
Yeah, they went down.
And I did how they do it nowadays.
I said it in the. Hey, and so like the video that I post this week is on the processing and in where we process that big whopping 80 gallons. But there you go. Like you were saying before, Bob, when you say 80 gallons, that's like what a chooky little number.
960 pounds.
Yeah, so it was actually like 85 gallons. So I'd say it's almost 1,000 pounds. It makes it more impressive. But so in the video, prior to us doing the processing, I do showing the individual machines and to give, because in fact this week I spoke with somebody who had the same extractor that I did. He was having issues with it, and so it's really, in my opinion, very interesting to see honey operations. I love watching those videos because I like seeing not so much hobbyists honey processing, but commercial guys, and seeing a line, one of those.
Well, I'm at 60 colonies. That's what I've grown to this year. 60-ish. It could be a little bit over one day and a little bit less, but 60-ish. And so I'm getting to the point, and I think in math, when I had the 8-frame extractor or the 8/4 frame extractor, I'm like, well, that doesn't even do one hive at a time. Right. And then, Charlie, I was gonna. Oh
yeah, Darren, the bars are very popular. They have a hard time keeping those things in stock.
And so my problem has been that I've always bought too small to begin with, right? So when you buy an 8/4 frame in, it's not too small when you buy it, but right. you haven't set that goal of where you want to be. So at that point, you're investing out of necessity just to get the honey out, but
Right.
then you're spending your time and not your money, right? So then later on, when you're growing bigger, then it's like, well, now I need a bigger extractor. How big do I need to get? Well, now I've got a 30 frame extractor. Is there going to be a point to when that's too small? I don't know, because I don't have that limit set, and that's kind of what I try to talk about, probably more than people want to listen, is trying to set a goal and get an idea of where your journey you want to go with it, so you can buy that equipment once. So what could happen is I could buy all this stuff and I grow too big, and then I'm like, you know what, I just need an extraction line. Now I need to sell everything I've got and buy a line. And but I think that's a ways off before I have to worry about that. But it's just getting a process in place. Like, I know there's equipment that you like and you don't like too, that you have now, right? So
yeah, I'm set up for, as far as I want to grow. I'm set up. I don't need any more equipment. I'm absolutely good.
Well, see, what I was looking at as far as size, I mean, to me, if you under 10 or 12 frames and you're going to get bigger, yeah, sell that and buy your bigger extractor. But I got a 20 frame date ant right now. If I decide that I need something bigger, instead of actually selling that, I can get something, say another 20 frame or a 30 frame, and be able to do 40 or 50 at a time.
Right.
The commercial apiary up the road from me, that's what they did. They had, I think, a 48 frame. Well, instead of selling that and buying like a 96 frame, they just bought another one, and then they got one side by side. And that also helps you if for some reason something breaks on one, you have a backup. If you sell that and
great thing.
If you sell that and buy just one new bigger one and something happens, well, then you shut completely down.
Right. So what is, we'll do favorite and not as favorite. So what's your favorite piece of extraction equipment that you have at the Abbey there?
Oh, it's the uncapper. There's nothing that machine can't handle. It's just like unbelievable. You can uncap 2 deep frames in about 4.5 seconds.
And now you've got the chain uncapper that you put them on the conveyor, set them down, right. And it does both sides as it goes through.
Both sides at the same time, right? And I talk about that in the video. I show that in the video, how those machines work.
Now, how do you like those as far as the chains hitting, making the small flakes of wax? Do you have any issues with that?
I have no issue with that whatsoever, because the issue that, since I don't have a wax press, the issue that you have is how do you deal with all that cappings, if it's all in the honey slurry, right? And so what I learned is that when I'm processing honey, all I want to concentrate on is running those frames, getting those frames through the machines and the honey into drums. I don't care about the wax, where the wax is. I don't care, because it's going to wind up in the drums. And that's perfect for me, because I can get all the honey into our drums really fast. And then I come back a week, 2 weeks later, and I skim all that stuff off and throw that into the separator. And I mean, I'll pull a lot of honey out of that stuff, and it comes out real. In fact, when I come back from Illinois, I'll be doing that, and I'll make a video on that as well, because I love that process. How you work the product is, to me, it's always been a fascination, and I've always been working on refining that process. Each thing, the honey, the wax, the rendering of the wax, all the storage, all that, it's a process that you have to work through. And Lisa's there, it's like for you, Bob, or anybody that's contemplating more than just, hobbyist beekeeping, having 10, 12 hives, what is your long-term goal? And for myself, I knew that even when I had 30 hives, I said, no matter what, I need an extractor that's going to be able to handle, so 30 times 10, that's 300. Well, I don't want an extractor that's only a 9 frame or 20 frame. So that's too small. It's not going to work. I didn't know the number I was going to get to, but I knew even at 30, I said, no, that's not going to work for me. So that's why I went with the one I went, a 48 frame. And shoot, when I bought that extractor, it was $3,000. Now the thing is $7,000. It's
everything is going up.
That's been my thing too. Is that luckily, I think I bought my equipment right before COVID last year. Right, the extractor was it last year? I don't know. It was
COVID was 20, wasn't it?
Whatever. I bought it last year, beginning of last year, and prices have gone up steadily on equipment. So, Ian says that, you'll always get your money back out of your equipment, which,
Well, that's what I was making a comment on here a while back. The extractor, I got a 20 frame data ant. I paid $1,900 and something when I bought it, and that was like 2 years ago. They want $2,800 for the same extractor now. It's almost $1,000 more. So if I was to sell it used now, still being, I keep it clean. It's perfect. I could still sell it for what I paid for it originally if I wanted to, and somebody would be saving almost $1,000 versus buying a new one. So to me, if you buy something that's good quality, name brand, it's going to hold its value because it's just going to go up over time.
I agree.
Well, okay. So what? Now we found out what your favorite piece is. What is your not so favorite piece in your?
No, they're all. It's perfect. I'm telling you. I went through a lot.
So if you had one piece, you wouldn't be like, if I could upgrade this one piece, this is what I would do.
I did upgrade. I got rid of my clarifying tank and the old honey pump because it didn't fit my operation.
See, and I need one. That's what I'm looking to get.
And
I like the honey pump that you had. I did like that.
The old one that I had?
Nah, the one that had the little gear drive in it.
Oh man, that is like primo. That thing it can handle. Handle
249 Filipino pesos.
y'all can buy a taco.
Actually, I'm having fajitas tonight. Renee was cooking a while ago.
So Lisa, I'll be doing the separating. It'll be a week, 2 weeks from now. I'll be doing that one, and I can hardly wait to do it because
I find that as I grow, I run into bottlenecks, right? So first I had my extractor, then the bottleneck was uncapping because I didn't have a tank to hang it on.
Correct.
So I was constantly only could uncap what I could put in my extractor. So then I upgraded those two things, and then it became getting the little fine bits of wax, the filtration process, right? So then I was like, well, I need to get me one of these clarifiers. And I'm like, but then all the honey's on the ground. So the tank is $1,600, but the pump to get that honey out of that bottom up to the tank is $2,300. So it's
exactly.
It's $4,000.
So that was exactly what I thought. I said, well, how can I was trying to clean my honey coming out of the extractor. So I was pumping the extractor into the clarifier, and what happened is you get that bottleneck. It takes way too long to run that honey through, and the honey that you run through, it still had wax in it. And those honey pumps are designed for honey, not honey and wax. And so what happens is, because it's a gear pump, the wax builds up in the gears, and boom, it just locks up. And so that's when I started looking for different types of pumps. And it took me 2 years to find the low pumps, and the one that I could find, I wound up getting. It took a long time just finding one because I couldn't get anybody to sell me one in America. I had to go get a Chinese one, and look, it works great. That thing.
So you didn't get that from a beekeeping supply place?
No, I bought it from a pump manufacturer.
And
they use them in commercial in like syrup, like molasses or syrup stuff, and the way they work is that they're two different lobes, and they rotate like a Wankel engine, and as they rotate and the lobes pass each other, they create suction, and it pulls, and it doesn't matter what it is. You could be crystallized honey, it could be wax in the honey. It's going to pull it through and pump it, and it'll pump it far. I mean, I only pump 3 or 4 feet, but you could pump them far. They really do work like an auger. They just can pump.
So that's kind of where I'm at next, I think, is
well, look into a low pump. It's more forgiving than a honey
a gear pump or a honey pump.
Well, it really is. And they're about the same price. They are.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was with the clarifier. Now your clarifier, was it heated clarifier?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it still was very slow. Well, I guess because it takes time for it to heat up anyway. So it's not.
So you have that separation of the wax and the honey, and then that screen on the end of the tank holds back the honey, and the honey's supposed to flow underneath it, and all the wax is on the top. In theory, that's awesome. In practice, it don't work that way.
I was about to say, it depends on how much you putting through it at a time.
Exactly.
I mean, y'all running a bunch through there at one time, so it don't have time for it to just sit there and slowly raise up and flow on down.
And I've seen commercial operations or sideliners where they had 2 or 3 clarifying tanks, and I'm thinking, well, that's silly. I don't understand that. Just get a pump and deal with it.
Well, I don't know if you watched Gus Mitchell at all, but Gus Mitchell, he pumps his up and it comes through a PVC tube, and each tube goes to a different bottling tank. Well, I guess it's just a honey holding tank, but it's through 2 or 3 different tanks, but he's just got ball valves on it, and that ball valve empties through a long paint strainer. So he could turn on a valve and fill up that one, then shut it and fill the next one, and he's able to move back and forth.
How much honey is he processing?
Oh, a lot.
Quite a bit. Yeah,
like I think he's got 2 or 3 100-gallon Maxant tanks that he's pumping to. So he's one of Cayman's buddies up there in Tennessee, and he does quite a bit.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that. The big guys, like there's a commercial guy not far from me. He's in Mississippi, and I went and I saw his processing line, and he runs his uncappers, and the honey is pumped through heated tubes to get the wax and honey to separate out, and then. But there's several of these heated tubes, and then they eventually drop down to one tube, and it drops into a big old Cook's Beal honey separator. And that thing is that machine was probably $30,000. And I mean, it's just he's processing, I don't know, 300 gallons an hour. You know, it's like it's just rolling through there.
Right. Well,
I love that. I love those big operations. They are so cool.
So couldn't you? And I'm not that familiar with the capping spinner, but couldn't you pump from your extractor straight into the spinner?
You could, and I did that, but it again, my honey wax separator doesn't have the capacity to get rid of the cappings. So you have to stop and get rid of the cappings to do it. So anytime there's a stop, I'm not interested in it. I did that one year. I tried to run it right from my extractor through there. It just doesn't work. For me, it didn't work. So that's why I do it the way I do it now. Just dump it into drums and deal with it at a later date.
Well, like you said, once you put in the drums, all that wax is going to float to the top, and you just come back and skim it off then.
That's right.
Now,
and you get to make a video doing it.
And as you can see by this hour and a half, we've been live here almost, you know.
No, it's only been an hour, Bob. You missed the first half an hour.
Yeah, I did. I overslept the first half an hour of our own show. But you know, we make it, we're wealthy over here, you know, with our 249 peso super chats. At that rate, it'll take you know, about 100 videos to make back what we super chatted you the
Well, that's what I tell Renee. I said, I don't care if I make $5 doing something. That's $5 I didn't have. It all adds up.
Yep.
Five here, five there, five there. You're gonna get it sooner or later.
Yeah, and if you don't, Lee, it ain't no big deal.
Yeah,
because you're doing it because you like doing it.
I gotta like doing it for my toys.
Yeah, you got some great toys. I'm envious.
Oh, Fox Plus, I'm just kidding you, brother. We appreciate you more than you know.
There you go. Look at that. He upped the game.
He went US on that one. Look at that.
I was about to say, look like US.
Yeah.
You know, with my luck,
you're gonna have to get a drink with that taco now.
249 pesos, and then YouTube probably charges me a transfer fee for pesos.
Yeah, right.
Hey, it's all greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, that's awesome when they do that. It's unbelievable.
So you make out of 150 hives, you said 150 colonies, you make about 4,000 gallons or 5,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's about, if you figure, 4 gallons per box, so you need 100 boxes to do it. So last year we did 95 boxes, so it's an easy calculation, when you
figure. Now you figure how many boxes you say y'all got this year?
We did 20 boxes this year.
And it's normally about 90?
About 90, 95.
That's basically 22% of what you had from last year.
Oh, yeah. Like I told Mike Barry said that his figures were 75% loss this year. And I told him, hey, how you doing, Darren? I told him, I said, Mike, that's it. That was it exactly for us.
It's been rough down
25%.
here.
25%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hoping for a goldenrod this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a goldenrod for the bees. I don't really care. I'll harvest it because I left probably about 25 boxes out there with stuff in them. So if we have it, that's good. But for us, the whole deal of what I was trying to accomplish at the Abbey was to supply honey to the gift shop all year round. And so that's why I figured 150 hives, and that would do our number. And since we only did 20 boxes this year, 2 years ago we did about 115, 120 of them, and we wound up with over 6,000 gallons. Well, I wound up 6,000 pounds. And so I wound up with, I still have 5 drums of honey from 2 years ago that I'll just decrystallize and put in the gift shop. And of
Never
course,
miss a
when I
beat.
what's that?
Never miss a beat with it
No,
either.
no. So it's like um, I'll be able to decrystallize the honey, make a video on it, and people get their honey. It's like a win-win.
Well, we have that discussion a lot about honey pricing and not discounting the honey for that exact reason. I said, well, worst case scenario, you don't sell everything you got. Next year, you may not have that much. Now you still have honey to carry your customer through. And that's a prime example right there.
I checked with the commercial apiary up the road from me. They were, I believe, 2 years ago, like $150 or $160 for a 5-gallon bucket. Last year they went up to $185, and toward the end of the year and this year they're at $225. So with the bad year that we're having down here, I'll check with them next year, the end of this year, see if they're going up even more.
Yeah, it's not been a good year. Well, let me rephrase that. It has not been as good as years past, right? If you're doing, for me, I'm right where I was last year. So my goals have all been met for the year. So that's a great thing. Did I have like a bumper crop to where all these new colonies have made a lot? No, that's not. But I kind of knew that going in, right? It was like a pipe dream that maybe, hey, we have a great flow and they just make a lot. But with that being said, how much comb did I make this year that I didn't have last year? So now next year, guess what? They don't have to produce that comb. So I the numbers work, right? It takes honey and nectar to make comb. So next year they don't have to make that comb. So I should increase. So as long as I take good care of my comb.
For me, when I realized back in March when we had that freeze, what that effect was what the full effect of that was going to be, it was still to be determined. But at that point, I started worrying, not so much that, well, am I going to have honey to sell? I started worrying about, am I going to have to actually buy sugar water to feed my bees to get them through? And that's what I was concerned with. But as it turned out, that even though our honey harvest was so low, they still had enough resources for them to store honey for themselves. So that, man, look, I'm real happy about that. Plus, like you, Bob, I've got the drawn comb already too. So I'm happy, I'm thankful.
I did have someone approach me today, and it might be a development coming up. We'll see. But he decided he's done. He's done beekeeping. And he said he went out in the yard today. It was super hot. He's working all these bees, and he's like, it was a bad honey year. He's like, I just don't think I can keep this up. So he contacted me about possibly helping him alleviate his colonies. And
would that be Mr. Sam?
No, not Mr. Sam. Are you kidding? That man's going to have a beehive as a headstone. What are you talking about? That's what they can do with me. Bury me out back and drop a hive on top of me right there.
Got a question here for Jeff. I'm figuring he may be talking about following the flow, but it says, have you ever had to move bees to follow the, I guess, flow, or just take it as it comes?
That would require work, and I'm retired. That's the standard answer to anything that involves work. No, I'm not interested in that.
That's kind of me. I'd like to be able to get out there and do more, but I mean, working 7 days a week, I have very little time.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that I wouldn't like to do that, but at this time, I don't have the time to manage that, really, right? If I had a separate yard where I just drive and work it, then that's one thing. But as far as loading them, unloading them, that's right now, that's not my thing,
No
Yeah,
way. That
Darren
doesn't
talking about
interest me at all.
Darren talking about that heat. I mean, here it is, almost 20 minutes till 9 at night, and we still got a heat index making it feel like 97.
Yeah.
It's 80 degrees right now here. And let's see what we got. 71% humidity right now.
Hey guys, I hate to be the real buzzkill, but I'm fading away. I got to hit the hay.
Oh,
Wait,
I'm usually in bed asleep at 8:30. And I'm falling. I'm sinking low.
We understand. We appreciate you
Oh
coming
yeah,
in.
we definitely appreciate you reaching out to us, reaching out to me today.
Look, I would have called you, Lee, but I saw Bob's number first.
At least he didn't call me to ask for Lee's number to call Lee, and that's usually what happens.
Well,
you got Lee's number.
Half the time when Bob calls me at work, though, he's waking me up. So it's all good. Call anytime. You got my number. You got my email.
Yeah. And now when you're ready to do the studio with Mike, world famous Mike Barry, that is, man, look, I know he'll jump at the chance too, Lee. So that'd be a great thing for us.
Well, I got some more equipment that I'm waiting on coming in right now, some camera stuff and other mic and some other stuff. Once I get everything set up, I'm gonna get with y'all and we'll sit here and do us a little video one evening.
That would be great.
Now I feel like the odd man out. You know, so they say, Bob, you can come join us. He said, no, Mike Barry would love Mike Barry.
Who's Bob?
That's just like the fishing trip. Hey, Dirt Rooster calls me up. Hey, Bob, you got Lee's number? We're going deep sea fishing this weekend. I'm like, you could at least ask me, even though you know that I'm going to turn it down. At least ask me because it's so far away. But
yeah, and that was Terry took care of that. That's your boy, and Terry,
the Guardian Beekeeper. Oh yeah, he's just in Georgia. He's one state over,
right down the road.
That was a fun trip too. He's talking about possibly trying to start doing that every year, maybe.
Yeah, of course, Yappy's presence. He really made
Frank.
Frank.
As long as he don't break no fishing poles this time, the captain might let him back home.
That's funny.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for letting me crash your show this evening.
We appreciate it. Anytime. Tell Mona we said hey, and she did beautiful work on the quilt there.
Oh, thanks. In fact, like part of the video this week, I do a little bit more on the quilt for anybody that hadn't seen that part, because that wall quilt is just awesome.
Matter of fact, those super chats, you should take her out to dinner.
Oh yeah, she will. She'll do that.
Of course, it'd take 2 months to get it from YouTube, but you know.
Yeah, right. Normally that's what you'd see behind me. In fact, you see let's see, there it is. That room right there. That's her sewing room, right back there. But she's already in bed. We go to bed early. We both get up early. She gets up same time as me, 3:30 in the morning. So our day starts.
Is that all the years of delivering mail?
I was up. Same thing with her. She worked her whole life and she got up early too. And so we both go to bed early. We both get up early still. All right, guys. Well, thanks again so much for asking me, and I'll see y'all soon. Good night, everybody. God bless.
Thanks.
Bye.
Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Jeff coming on and visiting with us for a little while. That's always fun. We should go ahead and drop the link for a few minutes.
You ready for me to drop that?
Yeah, go ahead and drop that link, and I'll pin it up over here. And I think can I pin your chat, or I have to pin my own?
I think you can pin it.
Yep. For you, it'll let me pin. Sometimes it doesn't let me pin, but open up if anybody wants to come in. And man, I'll tell you what, when I got that text today, it was like, actually it was a voicemail. And
y'all played phone tag.
Yeah, I never did talk to him. Never did talk to him until he came in. And then it ended up being a text back and forth. So
you had a couple of texts, and then I had the email with him.
Yep. And I said, okay, Lee's going to send you an email. That's when I was knocking the sand out of my eyes to come in. Now I'm good to go. And let me see. Watching the chat here. Surprised Charlie might be sleeping on us. Did you see Charlie in the chat earlier?
I think I seen Charlie in there earlier. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure I've seen him. My eyes are giving me fits this evening. They kind of hurting.
Let me see, Matt.
But that link is pinned in the comments. If anybody want to click on that.
Did you see Matt F? Congratulations on that one. Did his first market last Saturday and sold $700 worth of honey.
That is nice.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, speak of the devil.
Oh, Charlie.
Was that Charlie? How y'all doing, Brad?
Lowered even. Got the new haircut.
I thought you was talking about Charlie. I was about to say he didn't have nothing to cut.
Charlie,
right.
I'm sorry, Charlie. I had to.
He trims around the edges.
Yeah, that's about it.
How are you gentlemen tonight?
Nah, Tom, I ain't heard nothing. Something wrong?
No, not since last week, right? Last Thursday.
Yeah, last Thursday. Last time I talked to him.
So what you fellows got happening in your worlds?
Well, I worked bees all day. I'm exhausted. They're getting ahead of me now.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I got to update this picture here. I was working these nukes today. I did all these nukes I got on that row. Some of those are sitting under 2 deeps now. They're just going like crazy. Some of them are trying to swarm on me.
Really?
It's nuts. It's just nuts. I got to take a new picture here because it's like some of these colonies have got 4 deeps on them.
So you went from, oh my gosh, we may not be able to do it this year, to, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do it this year.
We went from oh, my apiary sucks to holy crap, they're gonna swarm on me if I don't get my button gear.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
hey,
it's been quite I've been working on this since Thursday, Friday. I've been working on this. Worked on it Friday, worked on it Saturday some. Worked today.
That's awesome.
Just been slaving to try and keep up with them, which is a really great problem to have. But you know, I kick myself because I'm a few days behind on it. I should have been on it a little bit earlier, but it was just sort of wait. And then last week, the flow just happened and the floodgates opened and the boxes just, boom, they're full. So what's the temperature? It's running not that warm here these days. It's running low 20s, low to mid 20s. C, of course.
Hey, 25, that'll be about 77 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, mid 70s. So the nights are actually starting to get pretty cold. Down to, let me talk F, probably down to 50. Sometimes below 50.
Yeah, it's cold.
Starting to cool off.
We had rain the last 2
days.
I was highly expecting swarms today, but knock on wood, they stayed in the box.
Yeah.
I asked Renee, could she bring me a little bit of Dr. Pepper? She just brings me the whole bottle. Pour your own.
Awesome.
So
that was fun having Jeff on. Charlie jumped on the same time I did. What's going on, Charlie?
Not really a whole lot. I've been going out checking the nukes and stuff like that. You know, I'm regenerating my nuke yard up and give them seconds. As far as some space, and it's going to be the end of this week. I should see whether or not my virgins have come back.
Holy crap! You got all the famous people coming tonight. Look at this.
How you doing, Darren?
There he is, Darren.
Can you hear us, Darren? He's muted.
You're muted, Darren. And
there you go.
And I had 2 other neighbors, friends that one guy helped me get my honey in, and so he came and got his honey done at my place, and because he didn't have the equipment. And then my other friend TJ, he came in Monday and did what he did, his honey. And so today I actually took the extractor outside and washed it, and I'm ready to put it away for the year.
Is washing like washing? I'm just curious.
You beat me to it.
I just want you
Maryland
to
washing.
be Pacific about it.
It's washing.
Be Pacific.
Hey, Charlie, what part of Maryland you in?
No, close to Baltimore. Why?
Someone
Oh,
asked.
Icy Mountain, honey.
Oh,
Where are you at,
right
Icy
now.
Mountain?
Philip said he's going
Phil?
to try it. He was having bad signal a minute ago.
Use his black and white camera tonight.
Yeah, I'm sitting out here in the dark on the porch.
Power went out.
All right, y'all got my hero on here. Hey, Darren, how you doing?
Oh, thanks, Phil.
Yeah, you and me like an old married couple, Brad.
I don't know who this guy is, but
Hey, don't feel bad, guys. You guys saw it live when Jeff was like, "Oh, I'm sure Mike Berry would like to come on with us," and him and Lee are having a side chat. And I'm like, "What about this guy? I'm right here."
Yeah.
That's why I had to pick on you and click you off the screen. Like, who's Bob?
poor guy.
So, Darren, you've been pulling honey and stuff too, right? I saw some videos popping up.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
You probably got your.
Darren too.
Are you watching?
No, you're the Darren. You're the famous
Darren.
one.
Okay.
Are you watching? You might be getting a delay if you're watching on
I'm on
YouTube.
StreamYard now. I closed that other window.
Yeah, if you close
Okay.
YouTube, it'll work a little better for you.
Yeah.
I knew there was something weird I had to do from the last time. I was like, whoa, it's like a 30-second echo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just turn the sound off on
and
YouTube.
you'll be fine. Yeah.
I just closed it. Yeah, I haven't pulled any honey yet. I was gonna wait 2 more weeks, but this week here it's rained so much. This month I've got 6.3 inches in July, and most of that's been the last week. We're in a flood advisory right now. There's a warning for my hometown, Newcastle, the South Canadians, just not too far from me, and it's like out of the banks. It's crazy. So yeah, I need some sunshiny days and some wind, and then I was wanting the honey to get a little bit lower humidity, but it's not happening.
I wouldn't mind a little bit of breeze blowing. I just don't want no more warm temperatures.
Do you get much fall flow there? Darren?
Not a whole lot. Get some goldenrod, and that's about it. I used to harvest a little bit of fall, but nobody wants it. So now I just leave it for the bees. I kind of like the flavor of that fall honey. It's kind of a butterscotchy flavor.
I like the darker honey. It's a little bit stronger, more bold flavor.
Yeah.
The real early spring stuff to me is just too sweet.
See, what I typically do is let my fall honey stay on the colony until the spring, right before they're needing room in the box, right? Then I start pulling it out and spinning it and giving them empty frames back, or give them empty frames just to make room for her to lay in the brood box. And then, when everybody else is running out of honey, I've got this little extra bump to help me get through. Why is it so much darker? Well, it's from, it's different flowers. That's it. That's usually what I say. It's just from different flowers. And then let them go.
I still have some from 2017 of fall honey. I don't eat it much, but it's good. It's good with butter on toast, which all honey's good with butter on toast.
Do you take your honey to markets, or how do you usually?
No, I sell it all right from my home, and
Same as me.
yeah, I don't have any problem. I do have it in a little boutique in a little town next door, and then there was another place here local that was asking if they would buy it from me wholesale. Last year I had so much I was afraid I was going to have a lot of extra, so I started bottling in half-gallon containers, and I was selling it for $45, which is, man, that's a bargain. And they were buying that up quite a bit till I ran out of it. So I do have a few 1 pounds left, and that's it. It's going to be perfect timing.
I started. I did start going up. I was only doing pints, which is 1.5 pounds and 1 pounders, and then as I started getting a little more honey, I would instead of keeping it in buckets, I just start doing some quarts and stuff like that to start giving a little bit bigger option. Not as many, but just trying to expand, to see how they sell. And then if they sell, maybe I'll look at buying a bigger container to put them in that looks nicer than a old mason jar. But we'll see. Usually
buy
people
some nice rectangle labels for those jars that look pretty good. And then you can print a little round thing to stick on the top.
Yeah, that's what I do. Actually, I haven't even opened them up yet. And we were talking about this, Philip, but I just Amazon primed a bunch of labels. And today's Prime Day, so if you want to save 50% off, you need to find. Of course, I don't like it when the mailman takes this size packet and shoves it in my
mailbox.
And bends all my labels up, so. But yeah, I usually just print them myself, actually, off these Avery.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you use, Avery?
Yeah, 2-inch. I get the glossy white ones, but some people use the regular, flat paper. Just depends. But yeah, I just print them up on my printer there, and I just print them as I need them. So
you got ink or a laser jet?
I bought a new Epson Eco tank. The ones where you put the ink right into the printer.
How's that work? Is it good?
I haven't had any issues with it so far. Now, some people, I was trying to see if I threw them in the floor, of course.
Every time I try to print something, my inkjet, it's like the cartridge is dried out, and it's like, oh, those are awesome. Yeah.
So, yep. Once I learned after 5 years that it says there's a directional arrow on the Avery to load them in so they go that way.
Yeah.
I didn't have that problem because before I would just grab them and throw them in, and some of them would print off a little bit. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, well, dummy, you didn't put the arrow in the right direction, So,
well, I was trying to print some pictures the other day for Renee and her friend, and I didn't realize it. I was trying to print 4x6 pictures. I grabbed my 4x6 melon labels and didn't realize it stuck on the printer, and I was wondering why the pictures didn't come out looking right. Used the wrong paper.
And then I just stick one on one side, one on the other side. Good to go.
Those look great.
So, and I just designed it on the Avery software and save it there, so it's good to go. I don't need to download it to my computer and all that stuff. So,
I have two of those, Bob. Those Epson tank ETs, they call them, extra tank or whatever.
Yeah, ET. I got a 4850.
Yeah.
Have you had problems with it?
I've got the one at home prints great. It's the cheaper one, the 2200 or whatever. The one that I have at work will do 11x17. It's like a 700 or 7000. I can't remember. The one at the office printed real bad, and I would do the head cleaning, and it would get a little better. I finally just did one of those. What do they call it? Like a major clean.
Right.
And it's printed
uses
great
a lot
again.
of ink though when it does that.
Yeah,
though.
I'll say uses a lot of ink.
Use a lot of ink. You got to put them. But the thing is, the matrix, the maintenance cartridges in those are not that expensive. They're only like $7 or $8 a piece. So yeah, it does use some ink, but
I've got the laser printer that I use for like shipping labels, but I don't use that because I have color on my labels. So, I not just a regular black and white label. So,
but even if you use extra ink, that extra tank, it's so much more economical than a standard inkjet. You're not paying $35-$40 for a tiny little cartridge.
Well, I think when I buy those labels on Amazon, I'm getting them, I think, 11 cents a piece or 14 cents a piece, as compared to, now if I was ordering thousands of them, you can get a deal if you're ordering them from like a label manufacturer or something like that. But just for at home, buying those labels off of Amazon is cheaper than going to Staples or Walmart or something to buy the labels. So, just however you want to do. But a laser, yeah, if I had a color laser, that's expensive. So
I was looking at a new laser the other day, color, and don't quote me. I want to say it was like $600 maybe for the printer, but they wanted like $1,200 every time you filled the thing up.
Yeah, for the new toners or whatever.
You should be able to do better than that, Lee.
Yeah.
You get different price points, and that's the trade-off with you get laser versus inkjet. You pay up front for the machine, but your per page cost is way lower than an inkjet.
Yeah.
And
Well, the
you
laser,
don't get that problem that Darren was talking about, that your thing dries up if you're not printing that many pages.
I got a black and white
between.
laser. I got a black and white laser. It ain't bad, but I buy a lot of my stuff on supplysoutlet.com for refilling my printers, and you get it like half price.
Well, that's where I bought that toner.
Yeah. I think I'd gave you that site, because my other printer I have here, it takes 8 different ink cartridges at one time, but it's for my photography stuff, so it gets pricey to fill that one up.
Yeah. There's some pretty reasonably affordable color lasers out there for $500 or less.
Yeah, I think mine.
They would.
Just depends on what you're printing, like how many you're printing, and like Darren says, if you're going a long time between printing something, and that inkjet dries up on you, that's good.
That's the bad thing. I got a big
Laser
Canon Pro 100. That's my photography printer. But if you don't run it, if you don't use it every now and then, it automatically goes into a clean mode, even without you telling it not to or whatever. And it just uses your ink up.
Right. So, well, at least going there every year with no ink is better than going there and having ink and it being dried up and you got to throw the whole printer out and buy a new printer.
Absolutely.
So
true. But when you got 8 cartridges to put in it, it gets high.
Oh yeah. So what do you guys got happening? Darren, what you got going on with your colonies this time of year? Just getting ready to pull the honey off and get them ready for winter?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the weather to change, to dry out, and I'll pull my honey. I'm thinking I may have a comparable crop as last year, even though it started out so bad. And I don't know if you all saw, but we had our initial nectar flow in May when the red buds bloom. And then after that, there was a lot of rain, and then there was drought before that, and even the prior fall. So my bees didn't have near enough stores, and that little flow that started them out wasn't enough to sustain them. And plus, they totally brooded up at that time. So there was all this brood and rain, nothing for them to eat. There were piles of dead bees in the bottoms of my boxes. And I posted on our local Central Oklahoma Beekeepers Facebook, hey guys, you need to look out for this. And several folks went out and checked, and they found the same thing. And many others posted after that saying, hey, I just saw this. What's going on? It's like, yeah, your bees are starving to death in the time that it should be in a flow. But after that, the weather conditions were perfect, and it was a flow like no one has ever seen around here before. And it was intense. And I have 5 more supers out than I had last year. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
We had a nice spring where I was thinking that everything was running a little bit ahead of time, and we're like, oh, this could be good. And then all of a sudden, when was it, Lee, when we had that cold spell? Like May.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Everybody, Canada's 80 degrees, and I'm sitting down here at 52 degrees and 49 at night, and
I can't remember if it was April or May.
And it just shut them down for a minute, and then they came back. But when
my fruit trees, the blooms froze out.
and that happened to a lot of blooms down our way. And then even some of the brood that they would normally be able to leave unattended because it's so warm, that they were dragging it out and throwing them out, and it's like, well, that's the I guess that's farming, right, Brad? That's what y'all say. That's farming.
That's farming. Next year's always going to be a better year, right?
We hope so anyway.
That's what happens is like, oh, I'm going to need all this equipment, and I'll buy all this equipment to expand next year, and it'll be a terrible year, and I won't use any of it. And then I'll have it for the next year, and then I'll be buying equipment in the middle of the year because it's so good. So
yeah,
hope for the worst, hope for the best, plan for the worst. Huh?
Yep, that's it. That's all you can do.
Like I was talking about this flow coming on, so suddenly Phil will get a charge out of this. I'm actually tomorrow. My task, now that I got the really important stuff done, my task is to go over in the corner, and I'm going to actually super some of the zombies over in the corner because they're getting too big. Like they're huge. It's just crazy. So I'm going to be putting them in some of the six frame poly boxes and putting a super on them because they're just too big.
Well,
I have to keep them.
I did that battery. I've got that one battery that I've been kind of complaining that they're not moving up and everything. And then all of a sudden I go out there today and there's bees on the front of every one of them. They're just like piled up on the front. I'm like, they got to be doing some work in there. I've got to definitely go through and check them out. But it's just been hot, rainy.
Every time I watch one of Brad's videos and he mentions the term zombies, I like flag somebody down and go, "Hey, I named his bees," and they're like, "Yeah, whatever."
That's my word. That's a perfect word. That's a perfect word for those.
Now
I'm glad you came up with it.
You've got to name those that got out of the zombie area. You got to name those baby, because those are from the what's that Dirty Dancing? Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Right.
So.
Okay. Nobody puts baby in the corner.
That's the Walking Dead colonies there, right? The zombie hive.
Couple of those just would not be called zombies. They just kept brooding up and kept brooding up.
Yeah, and the one, those three that I moved when I moved my cell starter, and then I put 3 little nukes right there. They're just blowing up. One of them I put in a 6-frame poly box, and I put a super on it today, and it's a zombie. It's a 2019 queen. She's old, and just going like crazy. So,
let her go.
What are you gonna do?
So yeah,
I've got It's kind of funny because one of my strongest colonies out there was my cell starter. And it started out of a 6-frame poly nuke, and then it went to 6/6, and then when I was done, grafting for the season, I just dropped a queen in there, and she went crazy in there, and now it's like
Cap B Company. I do that all the time. No problem.
Yeah, I do too. I do that as well. Give
it to a strong hive. I would just say, if you're not running queen excluders, make sure you don't have that queen in that super when you move it over.
Yeah, that's a good caveat. I run queen excluders, so I don't really think of that. So sorry, Darren, I stepped on you. What you're saying?
I was saying, if your flow's over, even a strong hive may not cap that anyway. So
right.
I would check the moisture content with a meter and go with it, because I've had a bunch of mine this year that they were super dry, like 14-15%.
That's good.
And they weren't capped.
Also,
capping. You don't have to wait for capping. They can dry that and not cap it. I think because they're so economically minded, if you can say it that way. They know they're going to be having to eat a lot of food stores soon, so they're not going to bother capping that stuff.
They'll go for
they're
that
just
first.
I'll say sometimes you'll have stuff that's uncapped and be a real low moisture content, and you might have stuff that's capped that could be high.
Yeah, I had
so just test it.
My early honey was capped, and it was 19%, and then the later honey was uncapped, and it was down around 17%. So I was glad to see
some they capped that high. That's surprising.
Well, I had two.
We had a lot of
last
we had a
year.
lot of rain early. We had a lot of rain early, and I think they just kept working. So, but
Also,
yeah, and it
make
was
sure the colony that you're putting those supers on is strong enough to protect that, or you could stimulate some robbing.
Robin. Yeah, Brad, I had two supers like that last year. They were complete. Well, I'd say completely. They were 95% capped, and they were still testing 19%.
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah.
So I just
What
put it in five.
floral
I put it in a
honey is
five.
that?
Tallow. I put it in a 5-gallon
Okay.
bucket, put a towel over the top of it, and put a heating band on it just to warm it up and let that moisture evaporate off of it. And in a couple of days, it came down to about 17 and a half.
Yeah.
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 Darren, he said he had 17% moisture. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You know,
Sometimes I'll take those frames that aren't capped, and if I'm curious, if it's later in the season, you can shake it, and if nothing comes out, it's probably good.
And the way I look at it too, say you got some that's 18.5%. Yeah, it's a little bit on the higher side. It ain't bad, but if you got some that's 16%, just mix those two together and basically you're going to even out to about 17.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, do any of
and
you guys?
I think in it 18.5 is that is the top level.
Preferably. But
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
depends.
that's the highest you want to go.
It mainly depends on what nectar source, because some of it is going to be more moisture than others.
It does. Yeah. I think my packer, like, they have to follow regulations. And so they test it all when I take it in. And I think it's 18.1 is what the max is that they'll take. I could be wrong, but I think it is something like that.
Do any of you guys use 4-ounce Muth jars?
As far as the 4-ounce Muth, I did buy a case of 36 of them. And I done that, I think, 3 years ago when I first started beekeeping. And the only thing I use them for, I take one sample from every year, cap it, and I put a label on the bottom what year it come from, just to have it.
Well,
So I can look at the difference over the years.
I was just scrolling through
Nice.
the book of faces over here, and somebody's got a 4-ounce Muth jar full of honey for $5. I'm thinking, isn't that jar like $3?
If I'm not mistaken, I got the 4-ounce Muth jars from Better Bee, 36 of them for, I believe, $18. Now, that was a couple of years ago. I don't know what they run in now. Let's see.
I've got some of the pounders, Bob, and they run more money like that, the 1-pounders. So maybe you're thinking of that price.
Yeah, I was just looking at that jar. And I'm like, $5, and you're not making anything on your honey. You're basically just selling a jar. You buy the jar, and I'll give you some free honey.
Better Bee basically went way up. For 36 of the 4-ounce Smooth jars, it's $39 now.
So a little over $1 a piece, and then you throw a label on it.
Shipping.
Yeah, so he's probably making $3 for 4 ounces.
Yeah, about to say 4 ounce. It's not a very big jar.
Quarter of a pound, or yeah.
Blaine said he was getting them for $1.25 each with the corks.
$1.25 piece. Yeah, but then most people seal that with like either wax, right? So that costs some money. They're either sealing it with wax or they're sealing it with shrink wrap.
Yeah, the heated shrink wrap.
Money. So it's like at that point, I would find the profitability on that to be so low, I probably wouldn't do it myself.
Well, some people, they sell that at a premium because it's almost more of a decoration specialty you're going to give as a gift to set up on like your spice rack, stuff like that.
I don't sell honey. I just sell jars, officer, and give them the honey, right? Hey, you can skirt the law. Just take the word honey out of everything and said for a pint mason jar, they're $15 a piece or $18 a piece, whatever you're selling them for.
You have to clean the honey out yourself.
The honey's free. Yeah, you have to clean the honey out yourself. Use mason jars, $15.
Some honey residue may be present.
Yeah, honey residue may be present.
That's the old raffle trick.
That is funny. Hey, I might make a sign. I might laser a sign up to set on the back of my truck. Use mason jars. May have to clean honey out. $15. So
Forgive me for asking, Darren. I can't remember where you're located. I watched some of your videos, but I can't think of it right now.
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma.
right in the
Oklahoma,
center.
okay.
Yeah, just
Nice.
south of
I
Oklahoma
see.
City, across the river.
Okay.
Like the airplanes from the airport fly right over me a lot of the time. I have to stop videoing and wait for the airplane to go over.
guess
I've
that's the
only
way.
been through Tulsa in the past. That's the only route from here to Dallas. Kind of is go through
Where are you
Tulsa.
at, Brad? Where are you at?
Near Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Okay.
So if you look at the boundary between Minnesota and North Dakota, we're straight north of there.
I would have guessed Minnesota. With your accent.
Yeah, you would have been more correct with that. Where I am exactly, I'm more north of Minnesota. Yeah,
It's tough up there where it's cold beekeeping, man. You got a short season and some cold temperatures.
yeah, it's has some challenges. There's a lot of really nice things though. Our seasons are so well defined and they're so much more predictable than a lot of the guys like you fellas and Charlie and Bob and them, Mike, Barry. I watch these guys and their seasons are so
God.
unpredictable.
Yeah.
You don't know when the flow is coming. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't. Here it's kind of, you set your watch by it, and then I'm still late in my colony swarm, but you can pretty much set your watch by when the flow starts. You can see it happen, and it happens within a week every year at the same time. And so, I mean, we got that going for us. Yeah, the season's kind of short. We don't get going
people
until.
that comment about, and they're from up in your area. Yeah. Was it this year they're having a drought? And Iowa's having a drought. And yeah. It's like I got all rain and places
you were talking about rain and dry. And I don't know that we've got 2 inches of rain here since winter. Really. Maybe that much, but hardly. It's really quite dry. We've got a nice sweet clover crop going, which is great. A dry year, it's mostly alfalfa, which makes good honey too.
I got a great buckwheat crop going.
Buckwheat Bob.
It is not indigenous to South Carolina, but we're trying. We're trying. It is growing though. If it can outgrow as fast as the deer can eat.
Now, Brad, as far as the alfalfa, does it crystallize as bad as the canola or anything?
Not like canola. No, alfalfa is one of the clovers, so it's actually pretty good. I've noticed that my alfalfa honey, it'll stay liquid for a couple of months anyway, maybe longer. Snow and mosquitoes, yeah.
Yeah, that's Russell.
Sweet clover.
I think he's from up there too.
I've got a 2017. I had a sweet clover crop like you've never seen, and I got some of the most pure sweet clover honey. And I've got a pound jar of it sitting here, and since 2017 I've liquefied it twice. I think it'll take about 1.5 years to granulate. It's just incredible.
Right.
So if this year holds out, I actually had some honey. I extract my honey and it sits in 5-gallon pails for could be 1 year, 1.5 years until I pack it. I had honey that sat in 5-gallon pails since the fall of 2022, and when I went and got it to pack, say last April or May or whatever, I could still squeeze the pails. It wasn't hard yet.
Now this is my honey.
Pretty amazing.
That's more of my spring honey from last year, and I mean it's just crystallized. It's solid. But then if you take my summer honey and everything, I mean it's still liquid.
Man, that's
dark
stuff.
That adds some tallow, but it's got a little bit of goldenrod in it.
It's like motor oil.
That adds some tallow.
The what now? Darren, you got a Hilco extractor, or what extractor are you using right now?
No, I bought mine from that Brushy Mountain company, and they're out of business. And I don't remember the brand name. It's like 3 letters. It has a electric motor on it, and Blue Sky Bee Supply has them now. That same model.
Is it Blue Sky? Is it like Liga? Is it, or one of those?
Yeah, I think it is. I remember
It's a
that.
9-frame radial.
It's got plastic wheels in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's metal on the outside, and then
Yeah, but the basket has plastic supports.
yeah.
I don't know if this is the right one, Darren, but is that it?
Saf Natura.
That's it. With the motor. FHC, yeah. I knew it was 3 letters.
Yeah, we just lost a bunch of background noise there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
The where there's Todd.
I don't see the one with the motor on it here.
Mine has a green motor, and the ones I see now have a red motor. But my motor's, it's made in Germany. It's got German writing on it.
The so
I see they have an 18 frame motorized one on there.
Yeah, I wish I had a bigger one now, but it's just me, so I bought
you're like
I bought Hilco's uncapping tank last fall or winter, whenever.
now, how many frames does that one hold? The one that you got,
The extracting tank or the
uncapping tank? Yeah.
seemed like it'd do 2 boxes worth, so 18 or 20. But that's only going to be effective if I have someone else helping me.
Well, you're like me. You're a one-man show, right? So
Yeah.
you I've got the 30 frame license, and then this year I bought the semi-automatic uncapper, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
it's got the steam blades, but you still got to hand crank the frames through.
Yeah.
But it makes it pretty fast, and the table will hold 30 frames and then move those 30 to the extractor and do another 30. So while it's extracting, I always have enough to go back in it.
Maybe someday. I bought Hilco's dripless valve to put on.
Probably like all the other dripless, probably one drip, right? It drips one time after you're done.
I don't know. I haven't tried it, but
you haven't tried it yet?
No, it's the one that he made himself. He said his dad designed it on.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to you doing a video on that because I was looking at that.
Well, I got to get out of the box and get it installed. I got a new job where I work now, and I don't have the spare time I used to have.
I was going to bug you. You haven't done a walk around the homestead for a while.
I know. I keep thinking I'm going to do it, and I haven't. Yeah, that's it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great price.
That is a good price. $75.
Is that a plastic handle though?
Fixtures on some of that.
It almost looks like it's plastic handle, but
I think it's 3D printed.
Yeah, it is.
That would be my only hesitation, that over time the plastic will wear out. However, for the price, you can buy 3 of them for the price of one,
right,
from everywhere else. So
he told me John Hill was going to send me one last year. He said, "Do you have any honey left to bottle? I'm going to send you one of these." I was like, "No, man, I just bottled it all in these half-gallon jugs." I said,
"You should have lied."
If you're going to send me one, I said, "I'll dump some of them jugs out and do it." He's like, no. So I just bought one. I needed some frames and stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, he's got some available." So I just went ahead and ordered it.
Yeah, because I remember that video you did on that bottling tank. It had that clamshell looking gate on there was.
It's
I
weird.
was
but
looking at that. And I said, man, that don't look good at all.
It's weird but effective. Once you get the feel of it, and it's kind of like muscle memory. But once you get it going, it's fast. But man, you have to pay attention, because if you like been doing it all day and you start daydreaming and you forget to shut it off, man, it'll be everywhere before you know it. You can't. It's like it moves fast. I love that tank. It beats the crap out of those 5-gallon buckets and that little spigot valve. That took forever.
Yeah, I had to relearn mine this season, because what I would typically do is I would turn on my bottling tank, but I would fill it up, and then I wouldn't let it get all the way to temperature, and I would start bottling it. So it was much slower, right? Mm-hmm. And I've got that pneumatic valve, so it runs on an air compressor, and you step on the pedal, and it opens the spring-loaded. So I've got that, and so I kind of knew how to pace it with the slower honey flow. But this year, I turned on the bottling tank for 2 days before I started bottling, and then I hit it. It's just like water coming out. I'm like, oh my goodness, so definitely have to relearn where to stop and how high to hold it. So when you stop it at that point, it's at the right spot.
Yeah. It's usually so hot when I do it. It's like, it don't matter. But I used to pull some honey in the fall and it would be cold, and that's when that would pay off. But yeah, I love that Hilco, just gravity feed bottling tank without the heater and all that. But
so the unheated tank, how much does it hold?
I think mine is 18 gallons. I got the mid-sized one.
That's what I've got, an 18-gallon heated one from Lyson. I think it cost me around $900 heated.
And I got like equipment envy. You talking about all this stuff.
Oh yeah, we talk about equipment all the time, and people, and I get blasted a lot because I like overkill, right? I got overkill stuff that I don't need right now, and Brad calls me the gadget guy, that I've got all these gadgets.
You've got the highest gadgets to bees ratio.
Yes, he does.
Well, that's what I said as far as the buy once, cry once. I mean, I would rather go bigger than what I need.
And I am a fan of that. You gotta, you can't just barely get by and then constantly outgrowing your equipment. You gotta grow into it.
Well, that's one thing I was looking at. I mean, anything that I do buy, I want to go oversized, because when I do finally retire, I want to try to buy everything that I can right now while I'm still working. That way, when I do retire, I don't have to buy anything, at least for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And I'm set up.
So the Hilco tank is $198 with that's called the deluxe gate, the gate that I have, not the dripless one, but the one that came on it. No, wait, that's the. Now, yeah, it says deluxe gate. Doesn't change the picture when you select that, but it's
talking about equipment. I just yesterday brought home a brand new Maxent Senior wax spinner.
Oh, you did buy it?
Really?
Yeah. So I'm hoping that kind of
you bought the senior because you're a senior citizen.
I'm not quite as well. I do get a senior's discount at the local store. So I guess.
Is that you bought a brand new one, Brad, or is it somebody had it sold?
I bought it from a beekeeper who bought it, never used it. It's in the crate. So
man,
it's a few years old, but it's brand new.
Now you heard Ed says he loves that piece of equipment. He just pumps it straight in.
I didn't get in time for him to hear him talking about it, so he really likes it, does he?
Yeah, he said he pumps it straight into his drums, and then he lets it sit for about 2 weeks, and then he goes out and scoops all the cappings off the top and puts them in that spinner and spins it all off of there. So he says that's much easier. His flow of honey. He doesn't have to worry about anything. He just drains it right into his, or pumps it straight into his barrels, and then comes out later and scoops off the wax and spins it out that way.
Very cool. Well, glad to hear he likes it. I did watch a few videos, and guys seem to think that it worked pretty well. It was hard to find videos on the senior though. Most guys are working with the junior, so
Well, that's because
I
we're too
was
poor.
hoping that. Well, boy, thing's a lot of money.
Yeah, they are.
It was,
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of money.
I got a really good price on it, but still a lot of money. So I'm just really hoping because I never really had a good solution for my cappings. It was just terrible.
Well, it'll pay for itself over just a few years, right?
I think it'll pay for itself in a couple
2
of
years. Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, when you get the honey that you guys get up there, it's, I hate to say easier to justify because it's still a big purchase, right? It's a big expense, but I could probably rationalize it to myself a little bit better, knowing that I was getting 200 pounds per hive or more,
Yeah.
and
The time saving and yeah.
Yeah, and
Your
I'm
wax
just trying to
is
get that honey out
no
of the
honey in your
cappings.
wax. And, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I've just been trying to warm it in my melter tank
so
to
what are you
drain
going to do
it.
with your clarifier now?
Well, no, this is for cappings. The clarifier.
You're still going to use the
I'll be right
clarifier?
back.
Oh yeah, because the clarifier, and I was typing that out when Jeff was on, but the clarifier in my case protects the pump because my pump is a 1-inch gear pump, and you can't put up with a ton of wax. So the clarifier takes out enough wax that it protects the pump from being gummed up. So that's kind of how that works. And then there's still a good amount of wax gets into the bottling tank, I call it. But then again, you warm it there and it settles as well, so you get mostly just pure honey out of the gate on that. That's a
Yeah.
nice clarifier, though. I recommend it. It doesn't. You don't get honey out of that thing that's ready to go in the jar. So don't think you're gonna. But it does take a lot of wax out of what comes out of that extractor.
But how much honey does it take in the clarifier to actually for it to flow through to the other end? Do I have to have
Probably
50 gallons in there before it'll start getting to the other end to where
probably
I can
your entire crop, Bob.
Yeah.
You probably fill it once.
I think it's, what is it?
I'm going to
15 or
say
18 gallons.
couple of 5-gallon pails at least. Maybe 3
Yeah.
5-gallon pails in that thing. Because I've got the big one. It's a Kelly's. I call it a sump. It's a Kelly. It's got the 2 sets of baffles in it. It's pretty nice, and the heater. Got the heated jacket.
Well, does it so I guess here's a dumb question because I don't have one, so I can't reference it. But so when you start putting the honey in the one end with the bigger grate, right, and it starts flowing down and the wax gets plugged up, and at the end, you get honey at the other side. So when you pump that honey out of that side, what do you do along? Like, let's say you're done. There's still going to be honey in that sump that's being held up by wax cappings. Now what do?
Yes.
You just start taking the baffles out and letting it come to the end?
Well, with mine, it's a pain because you can't take the baffles out; they're welded in. So the ones that you can take the baffles out, I think those are a lot nicer to clean. Mine just has a bung in the bottom of the baffle. Like there's 2 of them, so you can stick your hand down in there and get the bung out, and then it'll drain. And you do have to. We call it skim the sump. You have to skim the sump periodically.
Get the wax cappings out of it.
I don't know. Maybe I'll skim it every 4,000 pounds or something. Like it's not very often.
So I could do it like once every 10 years.
Yeah. So you wouldn't need to do it at all. So it's pretty good. But like I say, because there's a lot of wax comes out of that extractor, so it'll take out probably 98% of the wax, 95% of the wax, and what makes it through are pretty small pieces because they're subject to the flow of the honey going down under that. If you got a larger piece of wax, it's going to want to float a lot better. So it's harder to push that down under that that
So
baffle.
we had briefly talked about it in Facebook Messenger one night, and
Yep.
we were talking about clarifiers and whatnot, and you did have a good idea. Well, good is all relevant, right? So, and I know you gave me that face like, wait a minute, I had a good idea, but
No, my cat stepped on my cord. I just about ripped my headset off.
So you could
It was a different
elevate,
look.
and I think I saw, was it Gwendolyn? I can never say his name. Gruff.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Raphael.
the Welsh guy.
Yeah. So he was doing a review on one, and it was up on a table. So you could raise the height of that clarifier and take your buckets and pour it in out of the extractor. It's just if you didn't want to spend $2,000 for a pump to pump it, right? So I guess that is an option, but it's, baby steps, right? As you're building.
Yeah, I mean, to me, to buy that clarifier, as you call it, I don't think it would be worthwhile to buy that just to get wax out of the honey,
Right.
because it doesn't do a thorough enough job. Again, to me, that's an integral part of my honey handling system because it protects the pump from being plugged with wax. So therefore, I can, like you say, you spend $2,000 on a pump instead of $15,000 on a pump that'll actually pump gobs of wax. So that's kind of, how that goes. And then you have something else that takes out the last kind of bit of the wax. And like Jeff was saying, there's nothing like settling to take the wax out of honey. I mean,
Right.
they take 100% of the wax out of the honey. It just takes time. So.
Yeah, and I'm not in any big rush, so time's not really a factor as far as that,
Like I can only really extract about a barrel a day, maybe. Well, it really depends, because my melter tank is only about a barrel's capacity, so I can fill that thing right to the top, and then what I do is then I plug the system. I'll shut the pump off, and then I'll keep extracting until the clarifier is right full, and then I'll keep extracting until the extractor is right full, and then I'll get all the frames ready and put fresh frames in the extractor, and then put uncapped fresh frames in the uncapper. So when I come back in the morning, the melter tank has settled, and it strains really nice then. So I can strain out that whole tank of honey really fast, and then I can just do it all over again. But the thing is, then now I've plugged the whole system, so I fill that melter tank pretty fast.
So you almost need a second melter tank.
I could easily use a second melter tank, but they're $6,000, so I can't see that happening. That melter tank is a little elaborate for what I'm doing. You don't really need, but it is it's a nice jacketed, easy to control, temperature-wise system. It's a pretty good size. It could be bigger, and it does a lot more for me than just that. I can render frames, I can render wax, I can clean my queen excluders, I can do all kinds of stuff in that tank.
How do you get all that trash out of there when you want to do something clean?
Start digging.
You
get yourself a little spatula in a pail and you start digging. That's where it sits right now. I have to go and clean it out so I can keep rendering frames. Yeah, there's no good way for that. Plus mine, because I use it as a bottling tank, it sits up on a stand so that the outlet is high enough to get over a 5-gallon pail. So the top of the melter is almost shoulder high for me. And
you could do what Charlie does, get a scissor lift. it might help. Like a small
Yeah,
scissor.
could.
Platform.
I don't ever need to move it up and down regularly. So if I needed to do that, I could lift it off of there pretty easily with my tractor. It's just that it's a $6,000 piece of equipment that I'd rather not monkey around with
Yeah.
too much. And that's viable because I only need it on that stand for extracting time, right? Otherwise it can sit on the floor. However, when you go to empty it, that spigot is pretty close to the floor. So you can't put a pail under it. You need to put a tray.
You just
or
build
something like
yourself
that.
either a portable or a stationary platform, so that you can
But
step up
a
on.
scissor lift would work really well. That's a good
Yeah.
idea. My only concern would be stability of the thing, because you get that thing right full of water or something.
Well, I mean, if it's on a steel frame now, leave the tank as it is, but build like a platform around it, or something that you can,
Yeah.
it's like when I'm filling my bottling tank, I like it. When I'm taking that 5-gallon bucket, I want it at my waist, not trying to lift. And I built a platform big enough to where I can stand on it and stout enough that it's not going to give way, and I can just pour it in there. And that's what I'm thinking about. What you could shove a platform up there when you need to clean, and that way you're kind of up and over the inside.
Oh yeah,
of this thing.
it's just, if it was another inch higher, it would be a problem for me. But it's just low enough that I can, I'm 6'4", so I've got a little bit of height on a lot of people. So for me, it's not that bad, and I can reach into it if it's not too hot, because the old armpit gets kind of hot on the edge of the tank if it's cooking. So I just have to have it. It's not so hot. Oh, Darren dropped out.
Yeah, he had to go.
Oh yeah, he had to go. Oh, that's too bad. I was sitting here talking all the time.
Hey, just in case we lose anybody else, make sure y'all tune in tomorrow night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, to Nature's Image Farm. They're going to have Cayman on there, and there's going to be some big updates on Hive Life. So make sure y'all check that.
Maybe one night we can get them to say, hey, make sure you check out Tuesday nights with Lee and Bob. That'd be awesome. Brian, hook that up.
I can definitely tell you're going to want to be there to listen tomorrow night and have questions ready. That's all I can say.
I've heard rumor they're going to have it in Canada this next time around.
Well,
I just started a rumor that they're going to have it in Canada this time around.
I told James, if you guys do that road trip, it would be worth buying a ticket to fly up there to ride the 40 hours with you and James in the car down driving.
That's one of those things.
James and Ian in the truck.
Bring plenty of video memory cards for the cameras.
I was going to say that sounds like one of those things that sounds good, but maybe isn't quite as good.
I think Bill's right. I don't think that would be anywhere near as interesting as you think it might be.
I saw Ian's photo on Facebook where he was out on the boat, and at first glance, it's kind of a wide shot so you can see everybody in the boat, and I was like, man, how do you get Joe Biden in the back seat? And I'm saying, wait, that might be just his dad. I couldn't. It was just a gray-haired gentleman in the back, and I didn't know who he was. And at first glance, I was like, wait a minute, is Joe out on the lake in Canada somewhere?
Ian's dad is far more coherent than Joe Biden.
My cat is more coherent than Joe Biden.
I was wondering how
plants that are more coherent than Joe Biden.
I was wondering how if he really had enough life vests on that, because there was a lot of people on that boat. But then I remembered they can't use barbs on their hooks, so they're probably pretty safe.
Yeah.
I spent a week in
Canada.
I was
wondering how fishing. I was sitting back and wondering how they could put enough beer to liquefy all those Canadians on the boat. I'm like, that boat's not big enough for the beer they need to carry for all those people in the boat. So,
Yikes.
I think most of them was underage.
That was all Ian's kids.
There's somebody selling in Saskatchewan a flail uncapper with an 8-foot conveyor table. $7,500. Maple Creek, number 111, Saskatchewan. Jason Pollock.
Oh, Maple Creek. Yeah.
In Saskatoon.
Yeah, people really like those. I guess it really mashes the wax, so you got to deal with that. But maybe that's good if you're trying to pump it. I know Jeff has one, and the one thing about, and I said this to a buddy of mine, and he said, yeah, I never really thought of that. The thing about when I set up my extracting, having people that say that they really love the flail uncappers, I thought, well, maybe I should get a flail uncapper. And I realized that you can't run it by yourself. You got to have somebody catching frames, right?
Right.
So it wouldn't work for me. It works for, you look at Jeff, there's like 50 people in the room. So there's always somebody catching frames. Then that's my only comment on those. People really like those.
Yeah, it is about the number of people that can expedite things drastically. Like, I mean, even with my new uncapper, if I had somebody putting frames on, one guy just spinning, well, it'd go a lot faster than me loading them in, spinning 5, loading them in, spinning 5. See,
that was the only reason I was talking about buying the full auto one. Because, I mean, while it's running through, if you build a rack coming off the back of it to where you can line 2 or 3 boxes worth of them, just let them slowly go down.
They'll
You
sell
could be
that
doing
to
something
you
else.
too.
You could be doing something else, moving something around or what have you on the other end.
That's essentially how mine works. But, and it's an old timer, so it's pretty fussy. And I've said before, it's like a jealous girlfriend. You can watch that thing all day long and it'll be perfect. It just is so happy and it does its job and it's
just don't look away.
Perfect. A fly on the wall catches your attention and right away smash, it starts binding up and smashing frames and jamming. Literally you look away for a quarter of a second and it's, you get back here. I don't want you paying attention to nothing else.
Someone is selling in Kansas. This is a good deal for someone like you or James. It's a date ant 84 frame extractor, real extractor, for $5,500. It's 3 years old.
That ain't a bad deal at all.
That's
in
really
Fontana, Kansas.
Let's see, because I was looking at that one day, which I'll never need one that big, but I like my date ant stuff.
That.
What's that?
James needs that. I think that's what James should buy.
84 framer. That's with legs, it says. Segmented reel extractor. But yeah, that's a piece of equipment.
I will probably never own anything but my old 33 Kelly. That's probably what I will use for the rest of my beekeeping days.
Well, according to Date Ant's website, on the 84 frame, they're out of stock, but it don't even show a price. Basically, it says call for information.
Oh, yeah. That means most of us regular Joes can't afford it.
But see, even if you look at the 96 to 120 frame extractor, it just says call to order.
Well, I mean,
you
84.
Have to ask, you can't afford it.
Yeah, 84 frames. I mean, figuring that's the 8.5 boxes at one time.
Well, on the 96, it don't have a price, but it says add to cart. When you click on add to cart, it's $8,500 for a 96 frame.
Plus shipping. So, gotta add that on. But yeah,
that's
your 10 grand.
Super cheap. Why is it so cheap?
Don't know. Don't know that answer.
Let somebody going out of business or getting too old or something like that.
Let's see. Maybe it's overstock. I like looking through this stuff. I'm waiting on someone near me to actually want to sell some stuff. If I didn't have to drive 2-3 states away to get everything.
That never happens. You know that.
Yep.
You're either going to
There's
pay
the
for gas for you to drive, or pay for gas for the delivery guy to drive.
Yep, that's true.
And it's usually better just to let the delivery guy do it. Because then you can go to do something else while he's driving down the highway.
You might come out a couple dollars cheaper driving yourself, but then you got the headache of having to do it all.
Yep.
And unload it.
And like I say, you're doing something else while he's driving down the road.
See, my luck, the
Same money.
delivery driver just drops it. I'd order a 84 frame extractor. They just drop it in my driveway and send me a text message. Your package is delivered.
84 frame extractor. This guy's got to have a forklift.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say 84 frame. You might have to take out more than just a door to get that one in, though.
Yeah, I don't see myself needing that anytime. Before I would buy that, I would probably buy the Lyson mini line or something. You know, I think that would be a better contribution.
What's
to
that, a 24 frame?
40. It's a 40 frame.
Oh,
that a
I've seen
horizontal?
these little 24 frame horizontal lines, and they're pretty nice. I'd buy one of those.
They're like
for me.
The one that I think Better Bee sells is $34,000 US before shipping, of course.
Yeah,
but it's it's got the automatic uncapper and the clarifier and the wax curly fry maker.
it's got a little spinner in there, doesn't it? Or it's got a press or a extruder.
Yeah,
some of them have that I see has a little spinner underneath there.
Yeah, it's an extruder, and then it's got the a pump and everything. Now that's without like the deboxer and stuff like that, but it does have a little bit of
that's something that for my system I would add in a minute if I thought I could afford it, because that would save me so much work and so much back work.
The deboxer
is a deboxer, because I lift every frame onto that uncapper individually.
Right.
Like, I'm extracting 2,000 to 3,000 frames, right? And so that's a lot of lifting.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff we talk about as far as equipment is it's not designed for a guy with 10 colonies, right? I mean, you could get it if you're that guy, but you definitely, this is not stuff you're gonna, for the most part, spend $40,000-$50,000 if you've got 25 hives or something like that.
And that's the difficulty of running an operation that's somewhere in the size of the operation I run, is you have so many colonies that you do need equipment like that, or you really, really should have equipment like that, but you're not making enough money to really afford equipment like that. So It's a really difficult place. I was warned about that when I started, an experienced beekeeper. He said, well, how many colonies do you want to run? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, I'm going to try maybe around 100 and see what that's like. And that's exactly what he said. He said 100 is a really hard place to be, because you're not making enough money to afford much equipment, but you've got more colonies than you can do without buying a bunch of equipment. So
now there's one for James.
Right.
Bob Benny told Nathan at Duck River Hunting that exact same thing. That's the worst place to be, is 100 colonies.
Yeah.
He said if you can't, you need to jump to 200 or 250 if you can possibly pull it off.
You have to have more colonies than you can run by yourself.
Right.
Is the problem.
Right.
And I'm the guy who I don't want to hire people, so I'm doomed.
So
I'm in purgatory. I'm in beekeeping purgatory.
Robert right there is in Ohio. he's got a 60 frame cow and needs some work, $500. So depends what kind of work it needs now. But
James is good at work.
James
He
is
can
good at
fix
work.
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
But he says basically the same one Ian has.
It kind of work like strap, engine, bit of body work.
Well, the motors you can interchange motors, right? With the same
Yeah.
motor. You just take the gear drive off of it and mount the motor replacement to it. Maybe belts. Or maybe bearings. But that's all stuff that can be replaced relatively
James needs to jump on that
easily. Now, getting it from Ohio to Grand Prairie, Alberta.
It's too bad James is not willing to drive very far.
James can't drive very far right now.
He's a real homebody.
Right now, you can't.
Yeah, I'm really worried about him. I really hope
he was in the chat earlier. I tried to call him, but he was laying down. I just wanted to check in on him, but he's still not feeling well, obviously, and we're hoping that he.
Well, we'll go to Hive Life. We'll take the trailer and come back around Ohio. That's not really too far out of our way.
That's right.
And pick up a 60 frame.
I don't know. I think Lee just told us it's not going to be in Sevierville next year.
I can't say nothing right now, but all I can tell you, make sure you tune in tomorrow. That's all.
My wife told me that was my Christmas present for next year. And why haven't the tickets gone on sale? And I'm just like, yeah, as soon as I'm, because I'm sitting here, I'm about 4 miles from the convention center right now.
Oh, damn.
So
if hopefully they don't change it too far away. If they change it,
what life?
What life? The Hive Life, the Hive Life conference.
It's probably in Ohio.
That's why they're going on the
probably.
Well, hopefully it's closer to Winnipeg.
It is closer to
maybe not to Canada.
Closer to everybody but me.
Maybe Fargo.
And Philip. It'd be further for Philip too, probably.
Yeah, a little bit further. Yeah.
I don't know a Hive Life, right?
It's about 14 hours from my house to here.
I think it was
good.
I think it's about 12 or 13 we drove.
You're 4 hours away from me right now, Philip.
All right.
4 hours. Oh, that's gravy.
That's like Dallas
before
breakfast.
No.
Can do that before breakfast. Yeah.
How about that? We're going to see a video tomorrow. Philip's going to show up at Bob's house.
There you go. I can leave.
You wouldn't want to do it tomorrow. You'd want to do it on Saturday when I'm off. Oh.
Well, James showed up at my house, so you guys get with it.
I know, right?
I did look at trying to figure out where Johnny at Tennessee Mountain Bees. He's somewhere in the Cumberland Plateau, so somewhere between here and Nashville. I'm not sure exactly where he is.
I don't know exactly. Well, I could probably tell you.
The Cumberland Plateau all the way through Tennessee, the bottom to top. It kind of starts at Chattanooga and goes all the way up.
He's in Monterey.
Oh, Monterey. Okay.
He's in Monterey, Tennessee.
Yep.
How far is that off the freeway? Off of 40?
No idea.
Let's see, Monterey, Tennessee. It does say a town in Tennessee, not a city. Let me see.
Well, it's like whenever I sent something to Tim in Ohio, it wasn't a town, it wasn't a city, it was a township is what I had to send it to. It was something weird on the address, though, but it was a township.
He is almost halfway, maybe a little bit better than halfway between Knoxville and Nashville on 40. That's where the town is.
So Monterey is on 40?
The town is, yep.
It's close to Cooksville.
Oh, is it? Yeah, that's right on the freeway. Cooksville is.
Mm-hmm.
I drove through.
Yeah, Paul, I'll be in Slidell in September. I'm still not sure about August yet, though, for Pineville.
I think
Well,
I had
I-
breakfast in Cooksville
I will be
Well,
in spite of-
Monterey's just before Cooksville
before from the east or the west.
from the east.
Okay.
Lee, you going to work tomorrow?
Yep. Unfortunately, I am.
Let me see. Wait a minute. I just got my 4.8 frame from Beaver and have not took it out of the box. Still like my 4.8 manual. On an open box till next year, if next year ever comes. Oh, it'll work. It'll work good for you, especially when you don't have to.
Yep. I did 700 pounds in mine, or almost.
Work
And
pretty good for you.
Yeah, I just did 4 frames at a time. I didn't want to fool with that rubber banding stuff, so just kind of stayed there with it. You don't want to get in a hurry. Although I'm trying to resist, and I probably shouldn't. I probably should pull the trigger, but that license that we were talking about, well, I was going to go for the 12 frame license, but I really like that 20 frame license. It has the motor underneath. Mike, the Minnesota beekeeper, has it.
That's the same. I've just got the 30 version of that. Yeah.
It's $13.50 with free shipping from Pierco or Pierce. Can't remember which one.
Pierco. Yeah, they're out in California.
The reason I didn't buy the other one was because I didn't want to pay $300 shipping on a $900 or $1,000 extractor. But heck, you get the 20 for $13.50. You're spending the same money and you're getting it brought to your door. So
Well,
that's
you
a
got
pretty sweet
shipping
deal.
too.
No, there's no shipping on it. It's free shipping.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't believe that when I saw it.
Yeah,
I think it's coming from California.
Yeah, it's coming out of California near San Diego, Southern Cal.
So I don't need anything that big, but in a couple of years I might.
Oh, you don't need it till you got it. Then you'll be like, man, I'm so glad I got this, and I can do 2 boxes at a time, and life's lovely. Now, what I would say is still keep that smaller one, because if you go out and pull a box instead of cleaning the big one, now you can just load them in the smaller one.
Well, I could keep the smaller one at my house with my small yard, and then keep that one out in the farm. Hopefully, one of these days I'll get a honey house. We'll see.
Just buy enough stuff to where you're like, man, I gotta build a honey house now.
Yeah,
because I just got too much stuff for in here. Justify it to yourself. Build yourself up till you have to justify doing it.
Now, what he can do is just keep on bringing that equipment in the house.
Yeah.
His wife will finally tell him, just build something outside. Here's the money. Go do it.
Well, hey, did you see that the thing we were talking about the other night, the Allen's factory outlet on buildings, steel buildings? So I went to a customer's house the other day, and he had I want to say his was 20 by 30 steel building with a 12 foot door on it, right? I mean, it was huge, and side door and concrete slab. He said out the door it was like $9,500 for the.
No way.
Yeah,
No
well,
way.
the building itself, we kind of looked at it the other day.
I don't remember the name brand. The one I was looking at is 24 by 24. It's got the roll-up door, 2 windows, and then a regular walk-in door. And I think it was like 9,800, something like that. But that was without the concrete slab.
Here,
I was gonna say,
yeah, he said he paid like $3,500 for the slab or something like that. Let me see. So this is obviously not what everybody's looking for, but this is just one variety, right? So you can customize it how you want it, whether you want it tall or short and different sizes. So $9,500 for a 20 by 30 with a 14-foot roof in it. So, and he said they came out and put his up in like 5 hours. They were done.
Okay.
And so
now the only thing on most of them, I mean, that's just the metal building. You'd still have to put any insulation in it, any studs you want to do, however you want to do.
But he's in Texas. How much insulation does he need for the winter?
Well,
Yeah.
winter you ain't got to worry about, but if you in
Yeah.
there working, you're gonna want
Yeah.
some insulation and AC going.
It's an oven if you don't
Yeah.
insulate it. So
Yeah,
Alex, you're awful quiet over there. What's going on?
Not much. I mean, everybody's talking, so
So
you
how's
did
your,
better.
how your
for
bees
cake.
doing?
much better than I thought. I went back to the apiary this weekend, and 3 of the 4 nukes that I thought failed just had a late queen. So the total failure was 3 out of 24. So that's 80, almost 90% success.
nice.
All right. Very
Mated.
good.
So that's yes.
Oh, just for insulation purposes on here, I scrolled down a little bit. You have 3 insulation options. No insulation. Then I guess like a Reflectex, this is double bubble insulation for $1.50 a square foot, or R17 for temperature and moisture control at $3 a square foot. So you can get them to insulate it for you.
Yeah, you'd be better off doing the insulation and anything like that yourself, most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the way I insulate my hives is a bee blanket plus R60 on top plus a Reflectix beanie. That proved very effective. 12 hives out of 15 survived winter that way in a single outside in the Canadian winter. It's pricey to build ish. It's like $20 per blanket, and maybe there's like $5 of foam on top, plus the Reflectix and the tape. But once you have it, you can just reuse it over and over.
Mm-hmm. See, what I thought about doing if I do decide to get a build and just start getting a little insulation every time I run by Home Depot, stick back in my storage. That way, once I get concrete slab down building, I have everything to go ahead and start putting together inside. All new electrical, everything. But I don't know about y'all, but it's getting a little late for me.
Yeah. It is late.
So I don't know if y'all want to keep on going or y'all running out with
Oh,
me.
I'm good. That's okay. If you want to go around.
Yeah.
I know I'm about to have to go anyway.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to hop out too. I got to go to work in the
Yeah.
morning. I'm late for everything nowadays, so what can you do?
That's it. Look at this, 10 o'clock at night, and it's still, let's see, almost 97 degrees. With
You need to
Bob-
refresh that website.
Wow.
So
That-
Bob's the Rabbit and Alice in Wonderland always late.
That automatically updates right there.
Well, it's not that hot here, Lee, but it's 10 o'clock at night, and I can still see the sun on the horizon.
Wow.
Your bees are still
Well, I
out
can't quite
working.
see the sun, but the sky is bright over
Still
that
lit
way,
up, huh?
and it'll
They're-
stay bright all night.
They're out there doing orientation flights right now, coming home,
Yeah,
shift change
exactly.
at the honey factory.
They forage
Yeah.
until 9 o'clock.
That's the reason I really like coming up here, is it gives me a break from the heat for a week. So it runs a good 15 degrees cooler here than in Texas.
Now let's see.
See what it is here.
Our
Well, I was
high
in Dallas
today,
one time.
our high today, I think was
it
like
was-
96, and we're supposed to be
I think it was just the last
97.
But
last
you
week
know,
of June, where I was in Dallas. It was 2004, I think, and
that was the temperature
we're
of
at
2004.
the hotel. Well, we were at the hotel, and it was up pretty hot for us Canadians. It was running about 104, I think, and we're in the swimming pool, and we're just paddling around, staying cool. And there was this guy we started talking to, and he said, "So where are you from?" He says, "Well, I'm from Houston." And oh, okay, from Houston. And you say, "So you come up to Dallas for business or something?" He says, "No, I come up to get away from the heat."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well,
And we're just melting. Get away from the heat! Holy cow! Is it?
Man.
Like,
Mark's telling me to get a
hell in
whiskey
Houston or
barrel. You
something?
got to give me more information. I need to go get that, whatever the heck that is, a whiskey barrel. Yeah, I just looked. It's 89 in Capel, and it's 70 here.
He talking about a whiskey barrel.
Yeah.
You in Tennessee? You got to get some Tennessee whiskey.
Does he want me to get a whiskey barrel for the honey? Because
I wonder if you could get like we used to call them pony kegs, right? Like a two gallon
You can
keg.
still get them.
Can you get if I could get a little like Jack Daniels barrel like that, and then bottle the honey up in the little Jack Daniels bottles and put Jack Daniels flavored honey? I wonder if that would sell. I don't know. First one,
there'd be no copyright problems with
Yeah,
that at all.
Yeah, I'm about to say you can buy the little wooden oak barrels on Etsy, on Amazon, a couple of different places carry them, and then pour whatever whiskey in you want, get it soaked in the wood, pour it back out, and throw your honey in.
I saw somebody take a 5-gallon bucket. Instead of putting the honey gate on the bottom of the bucket, they put it on the lid, and then they tilt the bucket sideways, so the small end is draining towards the big end, right? And that way he can just take that lid off with the honey gate on it and put it on his next bucket, and he doesn't have to keep pouring honey into the buckets, into his bucket with the gate on it. He just puts the gate on the lid and swaps the lid over that. And I was like, man, why did it take, after all these years, one guy to figure that out, that makes sense?
Until one time that lid comes off.
Yeah, he didn't get it quite right. 5
you
gallon.
Click that lid on, and then, this is why nobody else does this.
$159 bucks, even on Prime Day. That's
So I think it'd be more interesting to get the bucket, to get the barrel full of whiskey, and then honey crop's coming. We got to empty this thing real fast.
Well, instead of Jack Daniels, you could call it Bob Daniels.
One glass at a time.
Buckwheat Bob.
Buckwheat Bob.
I'll say I think it would cost more than $159 with the whiskey in it, though.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I would imagine so.
Hey, but
All right.
I got to run, y'all.
Well, let's go ahead and call it for tonight.
Yeah.
And stream team tomorrow night.
Yeah, make sure y'all check out Nature's Image Farm tomorrow night. It's going to be some big news, is all I can say.
Well, I've been getting messages. You're not going live tonight? Not going live tonight? Well, it seems like what I was doing was going live on nights when people weren't going live. And then people decided, oh, well, we'll just start doing our premieres and everything right at 8:00, on those nights. So it's like either I go live or I let them do their thing, right? So like, if you remember, Grayson used to do his lives on Monday night at 7, and then by 8:00 he was off. So I would come at 8:00 like I normally do. But now he's going at like 8:00, and I think Thursday night, David Burns is going at like 8:00, and last Thursday Tim went at 8:00. So it's like, well, no, Tim went at 7:30, I think.
I think it was 7:30.
So it was, but trying to give everybody their thing and not soak up all the time. But if nothing's going on, yeah, I'll definitely hop in and do a live. But just don't want to hog up all the time. No pun intended, Mr. Hog.
Careful with the usage of that word.
And get a copyright there, Bob.
Copyright strike. Yeah. Brad's gonna he's gonna go and complain now. Turn me in. So that's funny.
All right,
anyway, guys,
I appreciate everybody showing up again tonight.
All right, good night, guys. Enjoyed it.
Good night, everybody.
Hey,